Good evening and welcome. Thank you, Maggie. And welcome to a long-awaited Afrac meeting. We calling the meeting to order at about 7:47. Running a little bit late here. We're kind of out of the habit of having meetings. So tonight we have a very brief agenda. We are scheduled to review and approve a bunch of minutes. And we have Gale Associates with us here tonight to kind of give us an update on where we're at and get some clarity on some items that are before us relative to the design. And then we just have an opportunity for members to offer some input. So unfortunately, Sheila Kish, who was our secretary, is running a little bit late. She is on her way, but she's got the minutes with us, so we're going to jigger the agenda a little bit, and well, actually, it's been a while since we've been together. Did any of the members have anything before we move on to Gail? Any member input? You guys need any clarity or anything? You good? All right, so thank you guys for being here. Maggie, John, and Sal, left to right. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah, well, appreciate all the work you guys have done. There's been a lot of communication, a lot of work going on behind the scenes, working with the PMBC, and appreciate the progress that you're making. And we're kind of under a tight schedule, and you guys have been diligent about staying on top of things and keeping the ball moving. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to hand it right over to you, John.
Okay, sounds good. Just a quick update, I guess. We submitted our notice of intent application to conservation just after Christmas, I think it was. And we had our initial meeting with them a couple of weeks ago. Had a good conversation with them. A couple of fairly minor comments, I think, from them. They did want the stormwater field peer reviewed. We agreed to, because we were submitting for site plan review as well. And their typical practice is to have the project peer reviewed, so I figured we could piggyback with the two agencies. And so we submitted our site plan review application to planning board about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And they did get a peer review proposal back. I'm told that the PMBC has given the verbal approval for the peer review to go forward so that we can hopefully get everything resolved before we even walk into the meeting on, we're having a special planning board hearing on February 16th. There may be some, outstanding items, but, the idea is that we'll at least be able to try to get most of it resolved, at least informally, before we even have the meeting, which is always great. Our conservation hearing was continued, and I believe we're meeting with them next on February 27th. It would have been the 20th, but it's a holiday. So we're planning on the 16th and then the 27th for conservation, and if all goes well, we'll be pretty much wrapped up with permitting through those agencies then. We do still need to, we have our application for the state plumbing variance that we need for the number of restroom fixtures done and drafted. It'll be submitted probably by the end of this week to them. I don't know what their hearing schedule looks like right now, but I'll keep you apprised of that. And then we need to do some coordination with Board of Health, DEP, and Water Department for the sewer connection and the water connections, which we'll end up doing as well. I assume that most of the town agencies look at the plans as part of the site plan review process, and they would have an opportunity to comment on them, but we'll reach out to them as well. So that's kind of an update right now. We are still, when we met with PMBC a few weeks back, when we finally got the contract all squared away, we did present the updated milestone schedule, and we are still trying to hit the March 1st date to go out on the street for bids. That is a lot of work still to be done before that date, and it's a good possibility that might have to push a week but we're still at this point trying to hit that date, with the end game being start construction thereabouts May 1st.
With
But-
construction completion
With
goal.
the goal, so the idea is that they'd hit the ground running on around May 1st, and that they'd be done around September 1st. You know, all with the caveat that we've discussed offline, that the school department and the athletic department should definitely plan have a contingency plan, because as construction projects can, they tend to, you hope for the best, but they, sometimes do go a little bit longer, so.
Let's put an addition on or anything.
Yeah, they haven't made any plans, but they know they are going to make plans. It's just a
Yeah.
question of execution. It won't be a surprise to them, so that's fine.
But the AD has had conversations with other athletic directors.
Exactly. So, right.
In like with every project, we basically pick a time frame that is reasonable for the project, and you put it in the contract documents. And that's a contractual obligation of the contractor, and you stay on top of them the whole time. There are certainly things that can come up that are out of anyone's control, or there are contractors that are quicker and slower than others, so just one of those things that you just have to be prepared for.
If the bid deadline did slip by a week, would that push everything back a week, or we think we could conceivably catch up and get the bid process done?
There's a little bit of wiggle room in there. You can pass it the milestones. Yeah. We need legally 3 weeks to bid the project, because we have filed subbids through Chapter 149, which is for vertical construction, so you need to give them 2 weeks to provide bids, and then another week for the general contractor to actually incorporate those bids, so the minimum is 3 weeks. Pull up on the screen here. So right now, we're tracking the bid opening to be March 23rd, which I think gives us a little, like a couple of days wiggle room from the March 1st date. And then a contract award around April 6th, which is, I think, 2 weeks to get the contract squared away. And then construction period May 1st. So within that April 6th to the May 1st date, there's, a few weeks in there. But it oftentimes takes, like I said, a couple weeks to get the contract actually signed. You want to have your pre-construction meeting and your safety plan and submittals and schedule values and all these things before construction starts. So there's really not as much room in there as it looks like, but there's a little bit. So.
Just, you said safety plan, and we know we're gonna do one, but the point I wanna make for anybody who's listening is that that would happen after we hire the GC. It
Correct.
wouldn't happen before that, because obviously it's their plan that they have to execute on. It's not Gail's.
Correct.
It's theirs. So those issues will be addressed, and the plan will be laid out during that time.
Yeah, our specs are going to basically tell them that they need to provide us a safety plan, and we can
Right.
give them a couple of bullet points and what we need to see in there.
Right.
But they're ultimately responsible for site safety and
Right.
for providing that plan.
Which is very typical of these types of projects, because they're all done on school property, and they're all started during school years.
Yeah, exactly.
Typically.
Right.
So it's not
And-
a big deal for them.
Right. That'll be one of the submittals that they'll have to provide to us before they can start construction.
Thank you.
So, we wanted to come in tonight, we haven't met with this group in a while, to have basically a working session. We want to, I think, run through the plans, and we've put a lot of detail into the plans. Nothing from a high level looks probably any different than what you've seen before. I mean, the building footprint is the building footprint, the site layout is the site layout. There's been a lot of dealings offline with how many bleacher seats are we going to have? Are we moving them? Are we centering them? Are we moving the light poles around, and this and that and the other thing? So I want to take you kind of through where we are there. And then I think what I'll do is go through that fairly high level, and then pass over to Sal to go through the building. And then we'll kind of hop back into some of the site-specific things, because we can tend to get hung up. We might want to talk about, picking a turf system, talking about maybe some colors and some materials later on. which can sometimes drag on a little bit. But so essentially here, I'm projecting the plans up on the screen. We didn't bring boards, and we didn't bring 11 by 17, so it seems like this is the best way typically that we've been doing it. So again, it's the same field configuration with all sports on there. Jet field at 185 for the foul poles. The building configuration is the same spot, same size. We are showing the parking configuration, same as I think we were showing it before, with 130 or so striped parking spaces down there. We've got accessible parking here. One change I will note that we did in this area is we used to have the vehicle access right over here. So you had to drive through one of these columns and make a really hard turn in. And we changed that to here. So you come in just straight in from the parking lot, which is a way easier movement to make. And that's why we have this little island here. So we're separating that from the handicap parking. And there's also a little bit of a grade change there, a little curb ramp back down to get to grade there. So there'll be a sliding gate there, 16-foot wide sliding gate that'll slide this way. You can open that up and just come right on here, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. We're showing a ticket booth here. We're showing a concrete area. This gray hatch is supposed to represent like a stamped concrete or a colored concrete, just decorative paving.
Aesthetic.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns we're proposing like a brick faced column with a decorative cap on top, like a pier. And then we're showing these other kind of blanks here as just flat, like paver blocks or something that would be flush with the ground, but it would look, it would give it some interest in that area. We'll get into costs later on. There are some value engineering kind of cost-saving options that I think we need to go through. These pillars and this kind of area, there's some options in this area for some cost savings, I think. That's really this is really the nicety area here. You know, it doesn't have a lot to do with the program, but it's a really nice feature if you can get it. But
So
again,
just go back up where, so the emergency vehicle, I'm kind of just thinking through this in my head. So if we were to remove the bollards or the piers, whatever we want to call them, and leave the gate over there, at first I was thinking that would kind of be my wish initially, but now that I'm kind of thinking through it, where you don't have to go over an area where people may be congregating, a ticket area where there's going to be human traffic, pedestrian traffic. This is probably, it's dedicated, it's, you know, that gate can be.
yeah, I think this is the best place in this corner of the field for that type of use anyhow.
Was there an impact on the cost estimate?
No. No.
Cost neutral?
It's basically moving the gate here and putting it over here. There might be a little bit more curbing or something like that, but I don't think it's gonna, you'll ever see that difference.
Okay.
So once they pull through the gate, they can just
Go around the field.
drive wherever.
Yeah, you can drive on the field. And there's another gate on this side here as well. And I think based on some feedback we had gotten before, we made this movement a little easier too. At one point we had the gate maybe over here, so you had to kind of come and make another kind of weird hard turn there, but we have a gate. So we have this whole area fenced in. We've got a curb cut, so you can get up the curb. We've got another sliding gate here, and then another sliding gate here. So you're basically just coming right in. It's a nice smooth movement there. Talk a little bit about the grandstands. So we, like I said before, Chuck was involved and Carl was involved. Debated, the issue that we had was that with the configuration of the grandstands that we were working with, in trying to keep this light pole, which is currently there, in place, we weren't able to center the grandstands on the field. So we reconfigured it so that we could center the grandstands on the field, But in order to do that, we needed to reduce the size of them. And at one point, we were down close to like 600 seats. And we got it centered on the field. Don't pay attention to this dark line here. That's something else. It's really this 50-yard line comes straight through this section and then straight through the ticket booth. So it is nice and lined up here.
Press box.
Press box, sorry.
Going right there for tickets.
And the decision was made to not move this light. It would have been a cost to do that, and then it would have been also not symmetrical anymore with the other side of the field, so you theoretically probably would have wanted to move both of them. And it was a ticket of like $40,000, I think, to move those poles. So what we ended up doing was we kept that smaller configuration here, but then we added on another section on the left-hand side. So basically, the press box is, I guess, technically off-centered from your whole grandstand, but it's
Press box
centered.
is centered on
There's a center,
50.
there's a local center.
Exactly.
The
That
press box and
centered-
center section are centered on the field.
Yes.
Now, one thing I noticed is the center section had, you entered from behind previously. So in order to gain seating, we're now just on the ends?
So with the reconfiguration, the way it worked out, we're just under 750 seats. We're 742,
Yep.
I think we're at right now. And if you're less than 750 seats, you don't need that vomitory,
Okay.
which is a cost. So we were able to take that out and save a little money. So we
Okay.
have an access point here on the end, and then another one here. And this is really going to be here. This one's going to be for, I think, more egress. Although, and we're not showing it completely accurately here because we're going to pave. You're still going to be able to walk underneath this whole thing like you always could.
Yeah.
And we're gonna bring this pavement out so that you can walk underneath and access
Got it.
here. If you wanted to, get a little more exercise and come down here and go up that staircase instead, you could certainly do that. Or you can just come over here and there's a staircase here to access this. This is an elevated platform. It'll be elevated about 42 inches off the field, off the ground. So you access that here, and this is your accessible ramp. Comes up here as well. So you really have two access points, just one on either side now. But you still have that whole open space underneath.
Good.
So I think it looks pretty nice. It's a little atypical, but working with the site constraints that we have, I think aesthetically, you're looking at that center section, you're looking at the press box, and you're on the 50-yard line.
It's actually, that's the way the Littleton community has typically watched sports at that field. There's a big pile of humanity down on this end, and a smaller part of humanity actually out to this side of the bleachers. I don't know why, but that's just the way we've done it, so I don't think it's gonna bother anybody.
And actually, if you think about it, you're closer to the
Exactly.
men's building at that point,
So
too.
one of the things that this will end up benefiting is, with that 144, is that new section closest to the concession area. The band likes the acoustics from that end of the bleachers versus down where the quote-unquote fan section is down the other end. So that's, pardon?
Keep the band on that
It
last section.
would allow, yeah, it'll keep the band and the band director happy.
One thing we did need to do when we were looking at this was we always had this little bump out here. At one point we had that at 10 feet, and we needed to decrease it down to 8 feet in order to make this work. We wanted to make sure we had separation from the swing set area, and trying to get separation between that. See how close we are to that existing light pole?
Yeah.
We needed to bring that down away from that light pole a little bit and get a little bit of wiggle room in there so that we could actually build it and not,
But we still have, what is the,
So you still have, you've got your 10-foot run out from the end line of, I think
Soccer.
soccer is the widest sport that was showing on this at
Cheerleaders.
210. So you've got your 10-foot run out to that dashed line, and then you've got another 8 feet after that. So you've got from end of soccer to your end of the actual turf, you've got 18 feet there.
And then another, 6 feet for football? Because we're football.
and that's,
Well, quite a bit
That's
more,
what it really
actually.
is.
cheerleaders are
Right,
at
that's
football games.
football.
And I don't
Yeah.
think
Well, this is the,
cheerleader, so.
Well, you can have more for football.
You've got a lot more, actually.
Right. Yeah,
You've
you
got
got about 30 feet.
You've got probably like 30, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's plenty.
You probably get about 36 feet between your football line and your edge
Front of
of
the
turf
stands.
there. I mean, this is the coaches
And
area.
you're down past the
players
teams.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got quite a bit of space there.
Okay, good.
Okay, I want to zoom in. I want to go to another sheet here just to talk about this area. Here we go. Nice being able to zoom in and not have boards and have people from 30 feet away trying to look
Yeah,
at
try to point at it with my
Yeah.
pencil.
So we've got the amenities building, we've got the, the few windows here, apparel and the concessions, and then your restrooms behind here. We did add in a grill area, which we had talked about at one point.
Yep.
Here, fenced in with a gate. I think our utility plan shows a light pole in there as well, so you actually see what you're doing at night.
That'll be new.
And then as far as the softball infield area, we have our basically enclosed, we'll call them dugouts, but it's really an enclosed fence area with a concrete pad and a player's bench. It's really just no roof structure on it. And really, if you wanted to ever add one, you could probably easily do that down the line. 'Cause you've got the concrete pad there, you could set one right on it.
Eagle Scout project.
Yeah, something like that. So what we're doing there, and it's the same for both sides, is we are, the whole thing's fenced in, so the fence comes down the line here with safety netting down that whole third base line. We're putting in a gate so you can actually get into the field. We're putting in a gate here so you can get into the dugout area. We've got a gate on the other side so you can get in from either side, in or out. And then we've got a 6-foot chain link fence in the middle with 3-foot openings on either side. No gates or anything, which is fairly typical.
Yep.
And again, the other side is just a mirror of that, for the most part. We've got a 24-foot backstop. We do have some presentation materials that we can show different options for backstops, but typically what we think of a clean look is to do just a straight vertical backstop without the overhang. It's kind of a, like I said, cleaner look, and the overhang actually adds quite a bit of cost. It can add like $10,000 of cost, which is, you think is kind of crazy when you think about it.
We're good.
What else? Let's see.
Can you just bring us down the right field,
Yes, there you go.
the old entrance area?
So we did add in this, it's a 12 by 60 foot, I'm calling it a warm-up area slash bullpen area.
So that's inside the fence to the field.
Yeah, it's fenced in, but there's a gate here.
So spectators are on one side of it, the field is on the other side of it, but you have an area where pitchers could go out and warm up with the catcher and then protect it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And we could have made that a little bit longer, but we've got that main gas line here, the main water line, electric line, and we're really trying to be careful about where we put fence posts over there. So, and what we've done for the infield is, at one point we had this whole area here as a skinned clay infield. But after some debate in the office of the best way to do that from a drainage standpoint and just maintenance and aesthetics, what we went back to was having a grassed area around it. What I didn't want to have happen, because the way that this thing drains, it drains towards the edges and towards the backstop. And if you've got clay draining towards your pavement, you could have it wash out on the pavement. It could be kind of messy. The downfall with having the grass here is that it's just, some people think it's a little bit of a maintenance issue. It's a little bit hard to mow and maintain it, and it gets a lot of wear. But I think it's the better of the two options.
Is it?
The grass in that area, yeah. I see it both ways. I see a lot of it being grass, and then I do see it sometimes just being all skinned in clay. It's just, they don't, the maintenance folks don't have to worry about mowing it and keeping it alive, but, so we are showing that warm-up area as clay, because that's going to get a lot of abuse. I don't think grass could really live in there. And then we're showing a clay warning track around as well on the outsides here. We've got a stone trench drain along the outside for drainage purposes. Again, we're showing that safety netting 20 feet tall here, safety netting 20 feet tall along here and along the other end line. What we're not showing is sometimes folks want taller netting behind the field goals, because the 20-foot netting will catch some field goals, but it won't catch all the field goals.
Not an issue for
Little
little
kick field goals.
I think I mentioned that once
Thank you
before,
for thinking it
but,
would be though.
and we're pushing the budget as it is, so we were
If it is an issue, we got plenty of little kids that love to stand behind the goal post and shag, so believe me, we'll be fine.
again, so that's pretty much high level right there. One more thing, just to touch on this parking area here. So, I don't remember where we were the last time we met with this group, but there was at one point some discussion of, was this going to be parallel parking, or were we going to do the perpendicular parking, where we have to shift the road and put the parking back in place, and what we landed on was do perpendicular parking. We were able to get twice as many spots, and it's easier to perpendicular park than it is to parallel park. Oh, good. Yeah, for a while, we were showing permeable pavers along this whole southern edge here, and we were trying to think of ways that we could detain or treat stormwater coming off of the pavement. Although it's pavement now, we're putting new pavement back. We need to manage that to the extent practicable. There was some, I think that, facilities was concerned with it, and even conservation was concerned with it, as far as maintenance, and there were just a lot of issues with having the permeable pavers there. So what we did was we took them out, and we are proposing a rain garden, which is basically a little depressed vegetated area off the edge of the parking lot instead, which I think in the long run will actually probably function a lot better.
And Conscom, as well as the highway department, preferred this.
Preferred that,
to
yeah.
what you had before.
I think it's going to look nicer, and it's going to provide more benefit. So that's what we're showing there. We're showing a timber guardrail along there with some lights. We've got parking lot lighting here. We've got parking lot lighting here. We've got lighting in the entranceway. We've got field lighting here. We're going to do basically a floodlight somewhere over here just to get some light on the infield, not for playing, but just for security. And at one point, someone said that during games, sometimes kids like to go out there and run around. And then we've got some pathway lighting back here as well. And then we're going to have wall pack lighting around the perimeter of the building so that we have nice light over here for accessing the restrooms.
Just want to leave that up, John. Sheila, do you see with the grill area, John, if you could, behind the concession area, they designed a little fenced-in area for the grill area?
Oh, that's good. That'll be nice.
I think it would make sense to turn over to Sal. We do want to come back and talk about details, but I don't want to get, like I said, hung up on that and not have a chance to talk about building stuff.
I just want to get the input of the board as to that bullpen area that you added.
Yep.
So on the third base side, that, in theory, if there was a pitcher warming up, they'd come out and they'd come down to the outfield grass here and then warm up out there. So.
We're saying out here on the...
No, they'd probably just come right
here.
along here and they just have somebody
Yeah.
protecting the pitcher or the catcher, whoever's back was to the batter. So up on the other side, there was some conversation from some of the softball folks that, where are we going to be able to warm up our pitchers? So one of the things I was proposing was to kind of square this off, not necessarily create what you've created here, but more square this off. But one of the restrictions you said was the utility lamps. Did I step on you?
You're wrapped around the HDMI cord.
Awesome. So I just didn't, I kind of wanted to throw it at the board to see if, that's going to be kind of like a little alley. And I don't know whether or not that's going to be beneficial or not, to have that alley there.
What's the alley?
It's a clay area
Yeah, well,
for, so you
So, like,
come out of the
that's
dugout and
the warm-up
the
area.
pitcher can go out and warm up. Just, throw with a teammate to warm up to get ready for, the pitching
Mhm.
change or what have you. Right now, they basically go out into the outfield.
Mhm.
There's a ton of space, but, along the third base line.
So what's the question? Like, is the bullpen good? Should we keep it, or?
I guess that's what I'm proposing to you guys. Do you think that, like,
Yes. I
we
think
should keep
Softball
that,
wants
keep it
it.
fenced in?
Yes. I think having one fenced-in area for people to warm up in,
Okay.
we don't have to worry about anything. If it's built in, and if the cost is there, I think we should do it.
I know that was one of the biggest reasons why, it's kind of 50-50 is when you talk to softball people, if they like Jet Field the way it is. And the people who didn't like it or weren't concerned, as long as they didn't lose a field, but their concern with Jet Field was that they had no place to warm up.
Right.
So I think, that's a good ad for the softball people.
That's certainly a benefit for the first base dugout.
Just gotta make sure
Right
that's
up
our,
against the
that's our
fence.
home
There's no
side.
way down there. Yeah, exactly.
We don't want
Well, I
to,
mean, you say that and you're liable, but there's no reason why, if it wasn't being used by that team on that side, the other team could make the sojourn over
Yeah,
and
it is
just do
separated
it.
from the dugout, so.
Yeah.
They could do
Yeah.
that.
You know, I mean, having one is better than having none. Having two would be ideal, but that's not gonna happen.
yeah.
So let's have one and they'll work it.
You put one of those net things up, like the high school has, on the other side? I mean, is there anything that would stop them from
As a
doing that?
batting cage,
Yeah, or like a pitcher warm-up area?
Be in the player field,
field of play.
that too.
Right. So, I mean, how are you gonna warm up your pitcher then if you're in the?
Well, like they do now, they go in deep
Go
foul,
out,
go
yeah,
out,
they
deep
go to
foul
the
out here,
outfield.
Yeah.
and they just have a spotter.
It's,
Yeah.
There's plenty of room.
from an actuarial point of view, in a youth softball game, and even a youth baseball game, it's fine. It's not like they're smacking the ball, yanking foul balls all the way down to the corner, that's, gonna rip somebody's head off.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
rolling, if it ever gets there at all, so.
I feel like if softball's happy,
Yeah.
we're,
Yeah, There's one of that, some electrical over there for a pitching machine, and
Mhm.
water to hose down the clay.
Mhm.
With some of the issues that
Well, this whole
softball.
field will be irrigated, so we can either have like quick connects to water down the clay, or we can have them design it so that the clay is just automatically irrigated. And, we could do it either way. It's a little bit of an added cost, I'm sure, to irrigate the infield, but I think what they typically do is they just have larger heads around the perimeter of this that shoot inward.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you guys have a preference. It's
I would prefer, if I were the coach, I'd prefer to be able to have a hose and just spray it down myself, but that's just me.
control it a little bit better.
I
Yeah.
think so, but, because otherwise you're messing with the rainbird and figuring
Mhm.
out,
Right.
just overriding it and that kind of thing. So if there were able to be
Either way, I think it's just as easy for the irrigation system to be designed that way.
I mean, concession's not that far away, so if we had to run a spigot off the side of the concession building and run a hose across that paved area, I don't think that's awful.
I think what we'll do is we'll just tie it into the system so we can have a quick connect like here and over here somewhere. That way you have it right there.
Yeah. As long as there's some way to
And it'll be a
accommodate
box
that.
flush with the grass.
And you mentioned you're gonna have a floodlight over there. If you're gonna have a floodlight, you just drop down a GFI outlet and they can plug in a machine there, right?
We're gonna have GFIs at both dugouts. We'll have them, I believe, somewhere over here for the warm-up area. We're gonna have GFIs in the field.
Yeah.
We'll have power and data to the press box, all that good stuff.
Awesome.
Do you want a GFI in the infield? Some people want to have one near the mound,
No, we'll put
but,
up an extension cord. It's just,
Right.
you're running a conduit and you gotta have
Exactly.
a cap and, no.
I don't love putting them in the infield because they could,
Becomes part of the field of play.
it
and
becomes an
issues
issue.
arise.
Yeah, could slip on it.
I think it's different if you have a raised mound, but in softball you don't, so.
Right.
Perfect, thanks, John.
Okay.
Sal's on.
And you wanna take the reins? Get yours.
It's been helpful.
Okay, so here is kind of just a black and white shaded 3D view of the building as it's developed. It has the two stainless steel roll-up concession windows next to each other under the roof. Then it has the recess panel, which we talked about having some graphic on it, whatever it says. It'll be PVC panels, and whether the graphic is part of the project and we figure out what that is, the artwork, and we kind of can put, vinyl graphic in the spec so that the contractor owns it, or if it's something you add later, because you might want to do donor things there as well, we could just leave it as the vinyl and the graphic comes on as a separate group, looking for your direction as to what you want to put there.
Before this meeting, I forget what her name was, but there was a woman in.
Jackie Sagal.
Yes, asking about ideas from us for donor recognition. And one of the ideas was on that panel. One of them was donor bricks out in the entranceway, or plaques on those columns if they end up staying, or something on this panel here.
So I mean, this could be everything where it's just the building, it's the whole field. It could have, it could have the high school logo, could have the paw print smaller than we were showing before. So just, I mean, whether we don't have to design it now, but we should.
Anything that we do that gives us flexibility.
Yeah,
I
this
think
is
the
very
right
flexible.
decision
It'll
to make.
basically be a PVC panel as the backdrop, which is the same material as all of the trim.
Yeah, so anywhere that does any kind of vehicle wrapping or anything like that.
Right, you can put a vehicle wrap, a vinyl wrap, and just whatever the graphic is on top.
I would say that we spec it as maybe just a logo, and then if we want to do something down the road, either the logo or nothing.
I would say nothing.
Yeah.
And just leave
We
it
can
up
put the
to-
logo in. If ultimately we decide that we're only gonna put the logo in.
Then you put a bigger logo, that's the
Right,
thing.
exactly, nothing constricting us. So I'd say just leave it and leave us the
I mean,
flexibility.
it's not a big cost item to put a
I'd
vinyl
prefer it to
graphic
be
in.
left alone.
Yeah. Julie?
Yeah, that'd be
Carl?
be
Yeah,
fun to
you-
be able to change it out.
Leave
Keep it
it
blank.
blank and use it as a bulletin
We do a
board. whatever.
chalkboard surface?
Is that like a panel you can?
We could buy the paint and you
Yeah.
could paint the
Yeah.
chalkboard paint on it.
I don't think of like,
Would you remove that
Rockland
panel?
High School.
Be able to remove it?
No, you would do it as you could mount a sign to it if you wanted to do a nicer sign, or you could do a vehicle wrap on it. You could pretty much do whatever, if you actually wanted to do something nicer and there was a donor and you wanted to do pin mounted letters or a plaque, you could add that to that on top of the surface that's there, but it'll be smooth enough that you could put a vinyl vehicle wrap right on top of it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say leave it blank.
Okay. Then there's the window. This is the roll-up window similar to these, and that's for the apparel sales.
Yeah.
Where's your, there it is. Okay, so then these are just sort of, this is the construction set as it develops, typical mounting heights of things, kind of regulatory pages. Then this is the architectural site plan. Since they are different bid packages for the building and for the, so we're a little bit redundant referring back to the site plan from Gail, so that there's the context is there and the kind of the limits of the site of what's in the project. The drawing set contains both the amenities building and has a little piece for the ticket booth as well. So I'll show that to you. So then getting to the plan, as it's evolved, we got the comments from last time. We've removed the counters that we were showing before, because we were directed that it's just stainless steel tables.
Yes.
We just have to confirm some of the sizes and work with you as to the layout.
Okay.
As to what sizes. I don't know, do you have them already, or?
We already have them in there, yeah.
Okay. So if you can get the sizes of them, we can show you how they lay out, and it might mean you might want to buy another one
Okay.
if we have more room, but at least show what you have currently. I can show you the interior elevations of the room so you can see what wraps around it, but just in plan. There's a refrigerator, a freezer, hand sink, 3-bay sink. There will be the grease trap will be mounted on the floor here. We're showing 24-inch deep shelves on standards all the way up the wall in this area, and then a high 12-inch deep shelf on standards above where the tables would be on each side. So that's what we're showing there. Have the field storage room, the family restroom with a changing table in it. Wall-mounted recessed trash can, paper towel holder on the wall. Then there's the fence that's kind of the sight line protector for both restrooms. utility room with a mop sink, and the women's restroom, the men's restroom, and then the apparel storage in the front. This is the recess where we talked about for that logo, which has a stainless steel counter that matches the other windows, and that was to function as a condiment shelf for the concessions and napkins, so that's where that is.
Do we have any shelving or caging in the apparel spot?
Right now, it's empty.
Okay.
Anything we could put shelves on standards there, or we just thought that maybe depending on don't know how you're gonna display, there are hooks on the wall that you're,
Slot wall, whatever.
right, slat wall, is it something that's done afterwards? Is it something you want us to program and show what it is, or is it this group or someone else we need to get input from?
I think we could figure it out.
I'll get input. I know
Gary?
yeah, I think Gary runs the apparel. I think he'd want to figure out what he'd want to do.
I mean, it's something easy to do afterwards, but if we want it in the contract, we can, just need to know what you want.
Right.
Typical, what's the finish in there? Is it just
It's
drywall?
it's all drywall.
Yeah.
Everything inside here is impact-resistant drywall.
So
I
anything
think
they
he
wanted to add,
probably
they
would
can
though,
easily
like
do.
at least one wall with shelving that he can store on, but
Whether it's wire shelving or, right, because wire shelving, we could.
right.
The only thing I'd say about the wire shelving, if you're going to buy units that are wire shelving, you could buy them for about half the cost of what a contractor's going to charge you for them.
Yeah.
So if that's the solution, I would just
Box,
put them in
box.
afterwards and
Right, 'cause
and
that's-
get them
he
from
just
Uline
stores
or
them
your
in-
supplier.
right.
The town's got to have a contract with,
Yeah.
that you can get those things a lot cheaper than what a contractor is going to give them to you for. Even the stainless steel tables, when we do those, we tend to recommend keeping them out of the contract. If you have to reserve money for FF&E that you're buying them directly,
Yeah.
buy them directly, because there's a big markup that they put on them.
Right. So, quick question, though. I think we discussed at one point, too, the concession for the condiments to be over on this side by the, right there.
Over here?
Yes. But I'm not sure how that will work.
So now we put a table out, a folding table,
So, yeah, right now we put a table out.
which could still,
I mean, you have this counter here, which is right, or...
Why would you
could
want it
still-
over there? Just because we've always put it over there?
Yeah, well,
Because
no,
remember,
not
the
just because of
stands
that,
are back
but
this way, so
I'm
you
just
get
thinking
your
the flow of
stuff.
people
And
and
people
all
out
of
of the
that,
way.
too. Like, they come there and then go over there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm thinking, if you leave it to the right, they get their stuff, they
And
step
they go-
off to the right to
and
do
then
their
they head
condiments,
back
and they
to the
keep
seat.
going to the right.
Okay.
If you put it over there, they gotta go there,
Yeah,
and then they
that's
gotta
true.
walk back across the line to get back towards the bleachers.
That's true. All right.
and if we have that built in, we
I
can
know.
still put the condiments.
You don't
on
have
the
to use
folding-
it.
Yeah,
No,
we
we
can still
don't
use a
have to use
folding
it. Yeah,
table.
but-
It doesn't work.
Gives us the
you know.
flexibility of being able to do that, rather than building it into it.
And I'd say to build it in on this side, you're going to lose space out of the
Right.
concession building, so here we didn't lose space because the restrooms behind it had some extra space in them.
Okay. That looks good.
And the exterior on that wall that Sheila was just talking about, never mind, I got it right here. Never mind.
This is the ceiling plan, which is very basic. The soffit underneath the canopy, we'll show some lights in here. Just notice that they're not there. But all of the ceiling is drywall in the concession building. Tends to be more cost-effective than doing ACT, but we will show an attic access hatch, that not a pull-down stair, but at least a hatch to get up there to service the units. We'll probably show that in the middle of the storage room. We might have to show it, actually, we'll probably put it in this area here, in the apparel storage,
Okay.
because we want to get back to the, as far as we can, to the high part of the roof, and rather not put it in the restrooms. So I think we'll just have to check in section, but probably would put it around this area here.
Okay.
So the highest part of the roof is in the middle, right?
Right,
So-
so this gets close, it's higher here than it's going to be in this room, so you have more headroom when you come through that
You
hatch.
don't want to do it in concessions?
Yeah.
You don't want to do it in the concession area?
We could do it in the concession area if you wanted to. I mean, it's,
I don't have a preference, I just, if you're looking for the highest part of.
right, you would, this would be the best place for that, to have the most headroom when you came up into the space. So we could do it, if you don't have a problem, sometimes people don't want it in the concession area. It's not something that's accessed very often, but,
If at all.
right, I mean, if you have to change filters in the fan units that are up, so there will be some access.
Yeah.
Get boots on your sinks and countertops.
I mean, it would not be
Use the
accessed
step
during the
ladder, right?
game.
Sure.
No,
No,
no.
of course not.
And then the ceiling here is it's the, like AZAC, it's PVC soffit boards.
Perfect. With some can lights.
Yeah.
All right, how
All-
much coverage is over the, that's just over the two
That's just over the two
service
windows.
correct?
Yep.
So how covered is it over the condiment area?
Just a pump out.
Just to pump out?
The recess and then about an 18-inch eave. So this is the edge of the eave above.
We do have room over where you were looking to put it, Sheila, where if we,
I don't-
you thinking of foul
I'm
weather?
fine where it is, I'm just
Yeah,
looking
but
at.
if we did decide to put it back on a rainy night,
Right.
if you wanted to put condiments out, we could do one of the pop-ups that we have
I know.
and put a table underneath that.
You can even put the pop-up here next to this.
Right, I was thinking
If
that.
you're
Yeah.
on a rainy day.
Yeah.
Then this is the ticket window as we have it now. Currently, I'm not sure I'm a fan of this, it's what is in the drawings, but whether you want to, because of, these are sliding windows, so your kind of transaction area is kind of small here. So I was thinking maybe just a double hung window might be more appropriate, or we could do a casement window that opens all the way out. Something that's not like the ticket window, it's sealed with the hole, something that looks more residential.
Right.
But looking to you guys as to what your thoughts are.
We have casements now and they have to kind of bend down in order, right? So
I've done,
it's double hung now.
Recording window.
So, and they have to kind of,
And that's why that's
Hang
always
the
the
window
debate.
higher.
Do you bend down or is it narrower?
Yeah.
Or do you do one bigger window rather than the two? And is another thing you can look at also.
I think it's good to have two stations.
What if you hang the window higher?
that's what I was thinking too.
Could you
But
do
the
a
other thing
coiling window,
is,
Sal?
why not,
You
Magic.
could do a coiling window. The window still has to be where it is for ADA.
But
what about like the concession
You can
stand,
taller.
roll-up
Yeah.
window?
It could be,
And
it
then
could be
two.
a stainless
Double hung,
steel
so you can open it
roll.
more.
We could do the
And
stainless.
then, you know,
Yep,
there can still be two lines, but why not one big stainless steel open-up window? Do you know what I mean?
we could do that. So basically it would be the same size,
Two
Not
roll-ups.
stainless steel, the
concession
roll-up
stand.
thing.
the same as the concession window.
Same as the concessions.
You
The
do one
accordion
big-
window,
you could Just one big,
one big one just with two stations at it.
yeah, one big.
So
roll-up
it would
window.
look like,
Wouldn't give you the residential look.
No.
it wouldn't give you the residential look. That's,
It would
It
look
would-
like that.
it would look like
But it would match that though.
Well, I mean, when you
That-
open, it's gonna be up.
it's open, right? It's only when it's closed that,
Mm-hmm.
so that is a possibility. It would just be one of these that would have two stations
Just a roll
inside it.
down.
Yeah, and it would roll down and seal instead of being glass.
I guess it's a matter of aesthetics. I mean, cost-wise, I would imagine that this is gonna be more expensive.
This is
than-
probably more expensive.
Not leaps and bounds, I would.
Not a lot though.
Yeah.
And from a logistical standpoint, that might be a lot better, because like you said before, it's either you're on one side of the window or you're bending down.
Right.
Right? In this case, you're just,
Doing it like
it's
Do you
open.
really?
And they have, there's other types of windows, but they get very expensive,
It's
like
gonna
the
be more-
nanowall
it's gonna be
type
more functional. and-
Yeah.
stadium
I would opt for
press box
functions.
window that folds out away.
Nothing's
They're-
gonna
This
be
case, but
ugly.
you got something sticking out in the way there.
And, right.
I mean, you can paint them, right?
The roll downs?
Can you paint those roll-downs?
You can get them in.
Yeah, we can get
Or
them,
you can get
we
a
can
different
specify them in a color.
Mhm.
So, I
Can
mean,
we put the tiger paw on it?
Yeah.
They'll do anything.
I know, right?
Sure.
now it's
It's
10,000
actually
more.
not a bad idea.
Put the paw on it?
Put the paw on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a huge cost.
No, I don't think it would be. And we could have them, we could do them all as a color instead of the stainless steel. It would be, anodized aluminum with a powder coat
Yeah.
as opposed to stainless steel, so they match the trim color.
that actually would be a pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's
Yeah,
excellent.
that would be
Yeah.
nice.
Well, that would be nice. Great idea.
Wrap it up. Everybody good?
All of them, even these ones here?
I would do it on all of them. Yeah, make them all the same.
Anodized
Yeah,
aluminum.
that's a pretty cool.
Trim color, yeah, it's gonna look nicer.
Okay. Very good. The other thing is, this is always a debate as to which way you pitch the roof. Right now, we're showing it pitching this way, and the questions were we thinking gutters and downspouts, or were you sheeting?
How much of a soffit?
I mean, they wouldn't tie in anywhere.
Mhm.
So you can do gutters and downspouts and just have them go where they go, but
You know, which way do you put the peak toward?
I don't
Because the
lean
proportion,
towards-
we put the peak the other way, because of the proportion of just seeing the roof,
it
but
look weird.
would you want an overhang here? So that they're a little bit undercover, extend the roof a little further?
I'd say that you'd want to flip that so that if it's raining.
It goes to, that's the, right.
No
And
one's
then
gonna
Couldn't
wet.
you couldn't you overhang the roof if you pitched it the other way also?
Yes, you could overhang this part, you could see
Little
the
bit
triangle
further?
toward you,
Yeah.
and then cantilever the
You know,
roof out,
Yeah.
probably up to about 2 feet. The issue is when you overhang the angle part, it's so high above you that the amount of rain protection it gives, unless you go really far,
Yeah.
is limited, but, so there's no good answer if you're not gonna really extend the roof like 4 feet and put brackets and columns to really get under cover.
Get proof?
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna be out in the rain for the next 3 hours anyways.
That's kind of,
What's?
And you're there once, it's a quick transaction, you're done. You know, you can go to the concession stand more than once.
Right.
More people go at a time, so you want that cover, but this is just.
it's typically, it's also more to give cover to the people inside for wind,
Right.
rain blowing into the counter and onto the tickets, and it's more to shield them than the person buying the ticket. But
Yeah,
the
but
thing
it-
that's nice about the roll-up counter is that you can adjust how far you roll it. It latches in multiple,
Right.
you could lock it at a mid, so if there's a windy rain, you could bring it down right to your eye level
Okay.
and kind of, you know, limit the amount of water coming in that way. So there's a benefit to that.
I feel like if there's a way to not soak people standing in that like one spot in line, and, you know, even if it's just, honestly, even if it's just tacking a gutter and directing it, even if it's to people's feet, I mean, yeah, you're getting wet anyways, but like,
Well, look,
you know, my 5-year-old's gonna stand under it, and then I'm gonna have to leave, like, I'm just picturing it from that angle. I mean, if it's impossible or costly, then that's one thing, but I feel like if there's any way to not create a shower for people, that would be nice.
what we could look at that wouldn't be that expensive, if this is the side elevation and there's the access door, if we did just the roof like that and then put a bracket there and had a gutter, so you're standing here and extend it like 3 feet, I don't think that would make the cost that much more, but I think it would do,
It would look nice too.
It would look
Like a
nice.
depot.
because, and that'll be in that plaza as you're walking by, you'd see that little porch kind of sticking out.
And then still do the gutter and just bring the gutter back maybe along the sides.
Right, yeah, you return, we would return the gutter down the side and then bring the downspout down there.
I like that better.
It's a little bit more money, but it's, I mean, I think, we were thinking of making the whole ticket booth and add alternate, just as a package, so that if it, just trying to be sensitive to pricing, so that it's something that could be done later
Right.
or removed if we had to.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
I like the depot design.
Yeah, it's kind of, that's,
Yep.
okay, we will do that. Then, this is
Put a little
just,
train in, it takes you to the bleachers.
There you go.
Just paint them down, paint some tracks all the way down that
Little monorail
Alley.
system,
Monorail.
why not?
People mover.
Good training, they'll hand out umbrellas.
Just have the
Get some-
sidewalk.
big long golf carts, like Disney.
The tow rope.
one other thing that came up earlier was a bottle filler on the outside of the building somewhere, which we were just asked about, is that a donor opportunity, and did we have one? And we don't have one currently. One of the places I think would be, yeah, and you mentioned a hose bib too.
Yep.
One of the places I think would be easy to do that would be right in this panel, which is between the door to the concession and the storage door.
Right,
Only because that's our plumbing wall.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be easy to bring the plumbing out, and if we had the hose bib there, the water's already there, so if someone, we could put it as an add alternate for that bottle filler, or if there's a donor,
Yeah.
you could put it in. If not, the water's there in the
Those
future.
are
That's a good idea.
external,
Yeah, they have freeze rated ones that you,
Okay.
and you turn them off. I mean, they actually have a little heating tracer cable in them. And they're not, it's not a water fountain, it's just a bottle filler.
Yep.
So it doesn't protrude out from the building that far, but
Could be a
How did the
class
football
of-
team fill their bottles when they're
They
done?
bring them.
They bring them from the high
school.
I mean, it's a.
But thinking about having so many more practices there than we're gonna have.
Right.
You know, I think that's a
That's a
good
good
class of
That's a green-
2018 or
green-
2019 class
Right.
gift would be terrific.
Yeah, having the, I mean, you have the hose bib this, you could fill up one of those, igloo coolers,
Yeah.
which is what people really need.
Right.
And then the bottle filling they're really nice, but they cost like $5,000 for like one of the nicer ones.
Yeah.
Installed.
Inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea of being able to use that like that would be,
And it's something that if we bring the piping there,
Right,
and
that's
you
what I
don't
mean,
do it
plumbing
now, it's
accordingly.
something, there's always the ability to add it later.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
the infrastructure is there for it.
Yep.
Because they typically don't have I mean, the real expensive ones have a drain, but you don't need to do a drain on them, especially outside. They have an evaporative pan,
Mhm.
like a soda machine, that any of the extra water just, so.
Got it.
That's a good idea.
So these are just the side elevations, so we'll add that in that location. This is the elevation facing Jet Field. That's the screen fence behind. This is the elevation toward the stands with the door to the apparel room. This is what it looks like at the concession. We're still showing the thin brick water table around the building. So it's a brick veneer, thin brick veneer that wraps around the building. And then the cement siding above. So it's pretty simple construction, but at least it gives a little bit of brick to kind of make it a little bit nicer around the base.
Is that like red brick?
Yeah. We'll have some, I mean, we actually ordered some samples that didn't come in time to bring today to show you, but we'll have one more color meeting probably where we go through and just confirm the colors and.
They try to tie all the buildings together, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Then these are just construction details. These are the elevations in the bathroom. We're showing tile up to 5 feet around the restrooms. So that shows the urinals, the toilets, the mirror and sink. That's the family restroom, the changing table. Then this is the inside of the concession stand. So this is dashed in the stainless steel table.
Okay.
This is the side looking toward the left side, the way we're looking at the plan, so toward Jet Field.
Okay.
So that's shelving on shelving standards, the door to outside, the refrigerator, freezer, and that's kind of that's a typical stainless steel table. I don't know what size you have, but that's like,
6 foot, whatever.
yeah.
Is that included, the freezer with the package, the refrigerator freezer? Are we gonna actually put that in the contract?
That's a question for you. Is or is that an FF&E item? Do you have them already?
Refrigerator, freezer? That's part of the contract?
That would be good.
Would that be a
Uh,
situation like?
markup.
You have-
Sorry, what you were talking about before, when you put in the contract, and you get paid a premium for that? Or do we?
You typically do. On something small like this, when there's not a big order of equipment that the contractor's making,
Right, yeah.
you typically,
Get on their own? I don't know how that works.
So we,
Could be
PMC
pricey.
could go out and buy that
Yeah.
with the funds,
Mhm.
right, with the TV for the, yeah.
So you'll get your refrigerator and freezer.
I mean, I'd be happy to put it in, it's just doesn't really matter, we could do it, but we would need a model number that you would want too,
That
but
doesn't-
Yeah, I would say just,
Yeah.
owner
make sure there's enough
provided.
outlets there and the owner will provide it, yeah. We get it.
How big is the freezer?
That big one.
How big you want, that's the point. If we
Right.
order, we can do it the
Go
way we
shopping,
want.
pick it up in Red
Go
Box.
shopping.
I mean, one thing, if there is a size you want, we still have time to tweak, just go back to the plan.
Like right now, we have one, an old
Coke
Coke
display.
Yep.
from when I was in high school, was the one that was at the high school. But
So like 2000,
it's
Show
just a
us- show us
fridge,
some
and then we
keys.
have a little freezer, you know what I mean? Like we have that
Yeah.
we use as the refrigerator, and then we just have a little freezer.
that's like a good humor ice cream
Yeah.
freezer.
That's the good humor ice cream freezer.
We're showing, I mean, they're the smaller commercial ones. I can't tell exactly what size they are because I don't have the, but I think they're 30-inch square footprint that we're showing for the freezer, full height, and for the refrigerator, full height.
And that would be shared between us and
So you guys want to do it?
And,
Well, so I think,
And if you think you want bigger, let me know now, because I think we have room to slide this stuff down to create some more space there, if we need
I mean,
to.
if they're standard commercial size, I don't think that.
It's the standard smallest
Yeah.
commercial size, not,
Right. I think.
not the
that-
one that I would get at Sears, you know,
Right.
with them. All right,
Right.
that's what I was wondering.
I mean, basically, they're the true stainless steel, full front or full glass door. I mean, they're basically the size of a Coke.
Oh, all
Because they
right.
make so Coke display.
Yeah, that's- we
refrigerator.
don't,
Okay.
we're not gonna have that much traffic through that we wouldn't wanna, and like, we're still typically probably only gonna do concessions for night games, right? We wouldn't, would we be opening the
So-
concession stand for afternoon games, field hockey, lacrosse?
No, but there'll be more night games.
Right, there will be more night games, there's no
So-
question about that.
They'll-
But also,
they'll-
the crowds aren't gonna be, we don't think, any bigger than we were already servicing.
I'm hoping they are.
Well, that would be great, but
So-
I think we're gonna be fine. I think the capacity is gonna be fine, because of what they're talking about. They're not half-size, they're just,
No, I think so too.
so I
It
don't think,
just
I don't
mean-
think we need to change the design or
Okay.
No, I
or
wouldn't.
moving anything around to
No.
get, like, the industrial strength.
No, I don't think it's like a restaurant type of thing where it's gonna be
Exactly.
like that.
Right.
It'd just be more shopping is what it would be more.
And then so this shows those, there's an elevation of them.
Okay.
Your typical kind of commercial. The hand sink, the 3-bay sink, and then the shelves on standards on this wall, which you can see here. So we've kind of maximized the space, knowing that this lower shelf, there probably will have this area will be the grease trap
Yep.
underneath there, and then 3 shelves that are 24-inch deep here, and then the 12-inch above the table along that side.
Okay.
And then more restroom elevations. That's the women's restroom. And I think, yeah, that's it.
no sofa.
That's where we are in terms of the building, and we'll come back with a color palette to kind of get your reaction to when we come back. I mean, you might do some colors today. We're probably gonna have to do one more meeting that goes through colors, right?
That would be ideal, probably. We've done it in the past where we've done it
Afterward?
during
Yeah.
construction. It can hold things up a little bit sometimes. It's nicer to do it now.
You guys can,
Yeah.
if you guys are available, we'll be available.
Okay.
We'll have to do that soon, though,
Yep.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get as much of that out of the way as we can now.
So, where we need to make decisions, if you could kind of float that to me, and I'm not looking for people to debate it and all that kind of stuff amongst ourselves, but if we can start thinking about it, so you guys will have an idea of what it is that we're looking to make decisions
Yeah, I
on.
also think we need to keep in mind that, you know, the athletic director in the school department,
Would
they're,
like some
I think,
input.
yeah, I think because they have ideas of how they want their, how they're presenting the teams, how they're presenting the programs, you know what I mean? So we
Mhm.
want to be consistent.
Like, I like the colors we have right now. I think those are,
I don't think anybody's talking about changing the colors, just where do you want to put the colors?
Okay.
And they don't know what the colors are.
And the
I think
color
you're
of the turf,
Yeah.
things like that. right?
oh, like that?
Pardon me?
Soon.
What does he state?
Green.
But, I mean, have we talked about colors of like siding, and, like, even in general terms? I mean, is it gonna be blue, or is it gonna
Well,
be like a
because
gray?
basically that rendering is what, some kind of off-white color.
Let me ask you this, what are the opportunities for an electronic, like where we could pick colors and see what it looks like? Can we set that, something like that up?
Kind of like when Mike goes to the barber, they say, we can make you look like this.
I mean, is that possible? You have it on, up here and we have a palette and we're clicking around and seeing what it looks like, or is that not?
Like when you go to like
I mean, it is, I mean, we could show, but.
on the building?
Yeah, I mean, we could, the problem is that a paint color and electronic
Well, I get that.
representation.
I
You probably have to do that in your
Not gonna
design,
do it.
in your design software, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
You click on it and you say, everything that's this color, change it to this color. Boom, right?
Sort of, yeah.
A little different than Microsoft Paint.
Is it easy to do?
Yeah, it's not hard to do, but I mean, is ranges of off-whites or grays, or is,
So everything we have right now is Littleton colors. It's
Blue and yellow.
it's blue and gold, yeah.
Yep.
So
Navy.
it's navy and.
right, so that's, we did the tan to go with the navy and the gold.
Right.
Because you're not gonna paint the building blue.
Right. No, I'm not suggesting that at all.
No?
I thought so.
It's almost like you wanted to put the right after that?
I mean, right, so this is basically the matching kind of the buff stone color that's on the school buildings.
I like that color. I think
And
that's
it was
something
a
to
redder brick at the base, and then just a slightly lighter, not stark white, but a slightly lighter tan.
Yeah, the schools
I mean,
are
that's
all
really the
brick
palette.
and then,
Brick and white.
like an off-white.
And then the roof would be probably a medium to dark brown mix range of the,
With a
just
big
the
yellow
asphalt
paw in the middle.
shingles.
With a big yellow paw in the middle.
Cheaper to go metal?
Is there a metal roof with a
No.
paw on it?
Metal roof's about 3 times as much.
Yeah, metal roofs are expensive.
Lasts longer, but it's about 3 times as much.
I think that looks nice, but I mean, I would absolutely defer to the school department and.
And what we would come was with paint chips.
If they want.
The school department's gonna be fine with that. I think the school department's just gonna be more inclined to think about logos and where we would do blue and gold, how it would
Yep.
look,
Right.
and
I mean,
and how big, and things like that.
you could come back, like we said, if these are, you know, the trim color, instead of stainless steel, there's the flat panel on top, which could have vinyl graphic put on it.
Right,
And that could be branded and
Right.
be a color and.
That's the other thing, it might be, right, getting with the fundraising group, they might be very interested in having us sit down and understand what the
Where
opportunities
the
are.
opportunities are, correct. And another opportunity is you could put a sign up in here, depending on what, you know.
And they would, I think they would also like to know what our final decisions were about in terms of colors, because they would want to be able to say, well, these are your options when they go to the potential donor. This is what it would look like. These are the colors, because we want it to fit in with the motif. So I think, you know, if we can coordinate some of that, you know, that would be great.
I think neutrals are, you're right on point.
Yeah.
We got the brick rain guard, whatever you call it, you know, at 18 inches, 2 feet in the bottom. As long as that brick ties into the brick of the schools, you know, so we kind of have some continuity.
Very good.
Yeah, I think whichever off-white is the cheapest.
Well, that's something to be said for that. I mean, you're joking, but you're right.
Yeah.
You know, there's no need to go bananas.
You know, if Navajo white is the base price, but you go with Elizabeth Warren white, then it's a different price.
Sit down.
Sorry.
That works on a lot of levels.
Back to you. Floors are just sealed concrete. Perfect. Throughout, so no flooring finish other than the epoxy coating on us.
I love it.
Can we talk about the walls at all? The walls, some of them, or they tile in the bathrooms and then.
Tile in the bathrooms, the concession area has FRP panel and the,
With seams.
with the seams, right, yeah. And then everything else is just impact drywall painted in the apparel room and in the utility room.
Makes sense.
And vinyl base. So vinyl coat base throughout.
Okay. Good.
Get half dressed.
All right, so we have some presentation, just images, kind of standard images here to kind of go through. Hopefully this ends up working, but the first, well, we'll go back to that, I think. Let's start with some images of some grandstands here. You have some options for different colors. And again, we don't have to settle on a specific color right now. When they submit the shop drawings for the grandstands, they're going to give us color options, but it would be nice to give them an idea of what the color would be, or at least that there's going to be color, so that they don't hit us with, you know, some sort of special color or
Is
not
there,
charge for color.
is there a cost differential? I mean, is black the least expensive or white the least expensive?
Usually with colors, I mean, they have a standard color palette, and as long as it's on their standard color palette, it is what it is. But
Yeah,
you know, typically it's like the risers for the treads and going up the grandstand. The angle's not great here, but going up the treads there,
Facing.
and then you can kind of see it here a little bit better, probably. Yeah.
I would
I like
suggest
that better
navy.
than the, I like that better than the red.
Well, it's more just an example, I guess, of what I'm trying to talk about, I suppose.
And it would be the navy,
It'd
not
be the
royal.
navy, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. There's also these polyboard panels in the front here. These are, rather than having a fence, in this case, there's a track here, obviously, but what we're gonna have is the turf come right up to the edge of these grandstands, and they're gonna have a poly panel here instead of a chain link fence. That's just kind of a nicer look, so you don't see underneath there. The sky's the limit with the options on there as well. You can do graphics, that ends up getting a little bit.
Right, that's what I was gonna ask, like, if you wanted to say Littleton Tigers, that would be more expensive than just doing a flat one color.
Well, I don't think it'll be that much more expensive, but it would be an upcharge, obviously. But it's not a bad idea.
Can you make something paintable?
They are paintable, I believe.
And you could also do the vinyl graphic on it.
Just a vinyl graphic
Yeah,
across
you
the
could
front.
have a bus wrap put on it.
I'm just thinking of like fun things that teams could do, you know, for the season, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think it's
Vinyl sticker
That would be neat,
that you put on a vehicle wrap.
but I'd be worried
Got
about.
it,
Where they do
okay.
the whole.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Vehicle.
No, there would have to be
You
guidelines.
could do that on that poly panel.
I'm just thinking of how to get it.
Always kind
You
of.
could also do
Creative.
just each letter, each panel gets its own letter,
Looks like a
like we did in this case.
So,
Above the press box.
are there any, do you have any
Yeah.
pictures where they don't have the poly panels? I mean, is
Well,
is that a
Is
value, is that value engineering?
that's actually before it went on. We always recommend it because it's a safety issue. You see these I-beams
Yeah, look at
under
that.
here that stick out otherwise.
Yeah.
The other option is just do chain link fence in front of it, but it's just not as nice of a solution.
I just didn't look at not nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
How do they hold up? Like 5 years down the road, 10
They
years
hold
down
great.
the road?
They're made out of they're like vinyl or PVC. They're really hard. They hold up very well. This is showing more of a decorative fencing in the front here with the slats instead of the chain link. In this case, we're doing all, chain link because this is
Black
a
vinyl.
significant upcharge. The black vinyl, yeah. So it'd be more like this. Typically, all the components are anodized aluminum, and there's some powder coating for the colors. The substructure is galvanized, and we can specify typically when you see it, we specify a color, like a powder coat on the substructure.
Says you're gonna be walking underneath it.
Yeah, you'd be walking underneath it, we'll probably end up doing just black, so it kind of fades in. Or we can do it navy. I think Linfield, we might have even done navy under there. But it's.
So that's something that needs to be maintained then?
It's a powder coat, so it should last the life of the bleachers.
All right.
What is the life of the bleachers?
The life of span of the bleachers.
Yeah.
Talking
Talking a decade?
I don't,
40
way more than a
years,
decade, yeah.
50?
20 to 30.
I don't know that there's a,
We're going on 50.
like a specific
Yeah, but-
number,
That's actually why I was thinking of it.
but
yeah.
it's, I mean, they last 20 to 30 years typically, yeah.
Okay.
Won't be our problem.
Just wanted to get a gauge.
Oh, there you go.
It could be Julie's problem.
It will be my problem.
That's what it'll look like.
Problem
Right.
solver.
Walking underneath.
That's the lift.
That's the lift there, yeah, in the background. So ours is gonna look not quite as like this because our ramp is gonna be on the side over here, but the lift will be back right next to the press box. You'll see the lift next to the press box, and these are the press box supports here. And you're gonna be walking underneath. This is a concrete walkway, and it looks like they did crushed stone here instead. And this one looks like it has some fencing there, probably for some storage underneath.
Yeah, just put some tarps
Keep
up.
kids out of there.
Are we, we're not
That's another
currently
reason I wouldn't mind
specifying
having the
that.
panels.
Security.
I would
Fencing
think the
underneath
kids
there.
would
We
be.
can.
Or chain link it in. or
Fencing
something.
underneath.
I don't know that,
And where are the?
do we want fencing underneath there?
Well, I mean, how hard would it be to add in later if you wanted to do it as a community project type thing?
You could do it, what we're proposing right now is to pave the entire underneath surface,
Right.
which another value engineering option that we were thinking of was paving just the walkway and crushed stone the rest of it. There's really no real need to pave the whole thing,
I prefer that.
just to pave the walkway.
I think so.
And it is-
I'm thinking like in the off-season, you would put goals underneath there and things like that, you know, and
You have
obviously.
crushed stone under it, you're
Exactly.
getting drainage, you're not getting water sitting.
Right.
Yep.
You know, just, I don't even know what we would use it for, but if it was available to use for something, it'll get used. You know, Jimmy will use it for something, or Mike will use it for something. You know, you put your sled back there, your tackling dummies, whatever, you know, stuff that is, you don't
In the
need
way
to
all the
totally
time.
enclose, right, you don't need to totally enclose it. It's, you know, you leave your blocking sled out in the left field all winter long, you don't put it anywhere. But if you put it there, that would actually be, you'd probably.
But they won't have it on the
They're not
block,
gonna
they won't
practice
have.
Well, that's different examples, you know what I mean? The field hockey goals
Here's
can
mine.
go there, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Youth meet.
Oh, yeah, that's blue.
Exactly.
That's right, it's the blue understructure. It's either blue or black, and I don't believe that there's any sort of upcharge. Yeah, that's blue, and then what we were shown before, I think it was black, right?
And that is part of the cost, or?
Yeah, having a color is a cost, because it's powder coated, but what color it is, as long as one of their
You're
standard
gonna powder
color
coat it
palettes.
anyway, because you've already determined you're gonna walk underneath it, so you're gonna powder coat it.
Yeah?
Yes. Right? You would suggest that you.
I would suggest powder coating, because you're gonna be
You're
walking
gonna walk
on.
underneath it.
Because you have such a high aesthetic.
No, you laugh, but. But, I
I don't-
mean, again, you're thinking about it, when we get done with all these decisions and it's done, you're gonna say, wow, I'm glad we did that.
Yeah.
And it's like a dark blue, because it goes with the other stuff that we're doing.
Right.
You can never go back and do it.
Yeah, people are gonna
After.
say, that looks pretty
Carl
cool.
and I would go out there one Saturday and we'd
They just paint it, just, yeah.
couple cans of Krylon.
And if we know that we're gonna do it and there's no cost between blue and black, then let's do blue.
Right.
Navy substructure, navy risers, navy poly panels,
Right.
Navy.
Yep.
and everything else will be.
Poly
just
panels navy as
aluminum.
well?
And then gold letters, if you put letters on
Yes.
it.
Yeah, you put gold letters, or anything you put on there would be gold letter. with
Tigers,
letters.
2 paws in the end.
I think that would look awesome.
But we'll do that after the fact.
The
You guys
letters.
don't have too much.
Let me see what it would cost.
All right.
We can look into it.
Alternate.
Be an alternate.
John's got a guy.
You know people.
Yeah, we
No people.
I know a letter guy.
Guy who knows a guy.
You know, a sign guy not to use. Trade.
Oh, I wasn't involved in that. Scoreboard, we're just relocating what you have now. So I don't know if we need to talk about this a whole lot, but temporary seating, turf. Typically, here's some options here. Typically, this is a nice look. We typically don't do this, the border around, just because, well, oftentimes there's a track and it just gets too busy. But this is an option. We could think about doing a border around the outside edge here. You know, logos in the middle here. I think we had talked about doing a tiger paw logo at some point. So I don't think we're showing any
Mike
plans that right now.
Mike said that.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, it's not in that one either.
so that could be an alternate as well.
Yeah.
This is
Um,
the new field at UMass Dartmouth. and That's the same.
You know, most people just go with the green field. It's a little bit simpler, and then you
But that
stripe out
doesn't-
the.
But if you were to do it, you just go just outside of the soccer lines.
And no-
Yeah,
outside of the
because
furthest
the
lines.
end panel, no matter what, if they install green or red or whatever, it goes lengthwise along the field.
Saying that's why it would be like the color.
So that's just the
So
end
that's gonna be
panel.
a seam no matter what.
It's gonna be seam there no matter
Okay.
what, and then the rest of them inside, they're all run basically with the yard lines. So it's just as simple as specifying that color there.
Rolling it out.
Yeah. Blue.
For which line?
Where it's red now.
See where the red perimeter is?
Yeah.
Imagine a green field surrounded by a blue circle.
Gold.
Gold. Yeah.
With like the.
You're also gonna have that
Right up
huge,
to the bleachers.
you're gonna have that whole cheerleader
Do
area.
you think we really need a border around it, or just for
No, we don't,
aesthetics?
we don't.
It
No,
could be
this
green,
is-
just like this is.
This is,
Just leave it green.
Yeah.
these are, here's another, this is Norwell High School. They just did a typical, green field, no border. That's probably 95% of the way it is, just the green.
This is just green.
Then get the paint out.
That's Narragansett.
I like this one too.
They're painting all their stripes, right?
Yeah, that's turf right there. That's synthetic turf, but they're painting everything.
Who's that?
That's in Narragansett, Rhode Island. They just rolled out green turf because they don't want to pay to tuft in the inlays, and they're just painting
Just paint
everything.
it?
Narragansett just got turf.
No.
Rhode Island.
Oh.
Did we talk about that ever?
No,
Make
we
decisions
haven't.
on that?
That's one of the things we have.
So all the striping that we have on there, what does that cost? Do we know that?
They tuffed it in?
It's about 10 grand for football. It's about between 5 and 10 for the other sports to inlay it permanently.
So if we went with,
So we're carrying
what
on.
does it cost to paint it? Because the paint lasts 2 years?
It depends, you can get,
Depends
on what
you get permanent paint.
The paint usually lasts, you usually paint it once a season. Unless sometimes you want to freshen it up for like Thanksgiving football. If you're hosting the Thanksgiving football game, because if you paint it in August, it's going to be a little bit faded come November. It's going to be usable, but sometimes people like to freshen it up. If you paint it on the synthetic turf, it's going to last you all season. It's playable all season. It's still going to show up in the spring. You'll have that ghosting line there, but sometimes people don't. Like in Wellesley, they chose to just tuft in soccer. Is that right?
Yeah, soccer, and then they did tick marks for other sports.
They specifically didn't inlay football because they didn't want
the
it
football lines all over soccer.
all over,
All over
more
lacrosse.
so all over lacrosse.
For lacrosse.
Because in the springtime, they wanted to try to make it the lacrosse field. And in the fall, they could make it the football and soccer field, you know what I mean? So
Paint football, and don't, maybe paint football and paint soccer, because you're not gonna use it that often for soccer. And you tuffed in lacrosse and field hockey, because they're practicing and playing down there.
What does it cost per app?
So it's what are we carrying here?
I'm actually carrying 5 sports, so I took too many. 5's
Here we go.
typical,
So we're carrying 10 grand per sport. I know that for football, it's more because it's a lot more labor in there.
Yeah.
We typically carry about 10 grand per sport. That's probably a little bit conservative. So I mean, somewhere between 5 and 10, depending on who's doing it and what the contractor feels like pricing it at the time of the bid. Somewhere between 5 and 10 grand per sport.
But to paint each sport is
Less.
But you're doing it,
8.
Every year.
Well, that's the question.
It's about
Right.
2,000. I think it's
we're looking
about,
at, what is the return?
I want to say it's about $2,000 to paint football.
So you get 5 years of football.
If we don't tough
If you don't tough football, and you paint
Right.
it, after the 5th year, you're costing yourself money. That's the price for the aesthetic of not having it in
You're
there.
not getting the
year-round.
numbers painted when I do football. You're getting stripes. I would
Well,
assume.
no,
that, right?
is it 2 grand to do the stripes and numbers? I mean,
To paint stripes and to paint an entire football field with numerals and tick marks. and
So you're
numbers,
talking
it's
what
about-
numbers and hashes
About
there.
2 grand. I think,
right, so you get
per
the numbers.
application. Yeah. And what we typically do, if you do choose to paint, we cut in tick marks.
Right.
So that you just have to
Connect the
pull a
dots.
string, connect the dots. And for football,
You're
we'll
not
put
finding,
in
you're not finding a monument.
the 4 tick marks for the end zones, and then we'll put in where the hash marks go. So
I think this is a very interesting conversation that we should defer and have with the athletic director.
Right.
But I, for one, never thought about not stitching in football, but I actually think that might be a very good idea.
You can include a price to paint for a certain amount of time. In Wellesley, they wanted, is it football or all sports?
I think it's all sports,
They want
yeah.
They want all sports painted for 8 years, and they put that in their bid. They're paying for it up front,
Right.
So I don't know that they're saving anything, but.
They just didn't want all the sports on there at once.
Right.
Something to think about.
It's
It
getting
is.
confusing and cluttered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you think about what is the true benefit of having all those lines there all the time? And when you're football, if you're not practicing, you're only playing.
But you say that, and
It's not as confusing as you think.
it's not.
It's not as
Brady-
confusing
Brady-
as you
think.
Brady was
Yeah.
10 years old, and I was asking him because he was playing in Arlington,
Yeah, I
and
get
they
it.
got everything striped
Oh,
up.
I don't
And
think
he
about
said,
it
"I don't
as
even
it's
notice it,
bothering
I'm
the
just looking at
players.
the blue."
Yeah.
I don't think about it as bothering the players. I think about it as an aesthetic.
I think that's got everything.
I'm thinking about it as the aesthetic.
All right.
What does it look like when you're sitting in the stands and you're watching?
You don't notice? Yeah, this is,
Yeah,
What do you want it to
that's-
look like?
yeah, but Erin plays on and it has everything painted on it.
That's got
I'm not
everything.
painted, but stitched in.
Chuck, what, that's what you want it to look like?
And I don't see the difference.
That has football,
That's fine.
soccer is yellow,
Both lacrosses.
lacrosse, and then
I'm
field
just one
hockey is
man.
black.
Well, there is 5 sports.
Yeah.
Listen, I get up every morning and say, what would Wellesley do? And I conduct my day like that.
It's not Wellesley.
Well, you should. You should get up and say, what will Littleton do? Because we are our own town.
You know, it comes down to, do you want to just not have to think about striping it
touching
or
it.
maintenance or ever painting it
There's something
again?
said for that.
Yeah.
Or do you want to save some money up
Listen,
front?
let's ask the
Or do you want to
athletic
have
director.
the flexibility?
He might just laugh at you and say, stitch it, and get out of my office.
What a lot of people are doing.
It doesn't, it really
The shortest
does
answer
not
he
look
ever gave to any
He
question.
cares about football.
bad at all.
Well, no, I
No,
think
that's
he's
not-
probably gonna argue that it doesn't matter, that
Right.
every field's like that. What do you,
Everyone
what do you,
knows
why
how
are you
to find
bothering?
their
Yeah.
lines, yeah.
We don't have to worry about it ever again? What are you crazy?
I think if we were gonna paint any line, it would be soccer.
I
Because it's on the
agree.
outside,
Right.
it's
Not much.
not much paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that,
And
totally.
it's,
And you're not using it for soccer very
As
often.
often.
No, it's gonna be
Right.
like maybe 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
But
I will
for
say
10
that soccer
games,
probably
why
has
do
the
you want the
least amount
labor
of
and the
lines,
heat?
though.
It
So if
does.
you did want to,
Huh?
if you did want to
Also
tuft
very
it,
flat.
it's the least
I
obtrusive.
think,
Second
I
one.
think we need to just do a little
For only
math
10
and see
games,
what the return,
do
and,
yellow,
you
right?
know,
you wanna spend
the
$2,000
return
on
is.
painting it.
That's, I mean, that's
Right,
it,
the
yeah,
other
that's,
one's yellow, right?
yeah.
Usually soccer.
Soccer, we do yellow. And that's
Yeah.
actually got lacrosse, too.
Yeah, that's
But
only one more
Yeah.
than that.
let's have a conversation with the
Yeah.
athletic director and
I'll talk to Mike.
Okay. To be determined, okay. Border, no. Alternate. This is something that we haven't done in a while. I don't love it particularly, but it's an option. The alternating,
Greens.
That's a baseball.
I've had some people that have asked that.
yeah. I mean,
Mike doesn't like all those lines now, never mind.
this is at Innovation Academy in Tingsboro, and they, at the time, they were only playing soccer out there. I think the only thing they tufted in was soccer. That's the only sport they had, I believe, soccer and track. So they wanted the alternating lines because it wouldn't be busy, you know what I mean? They would never have other sports on there, but if you have 5 sports on there, alternating turf and the logos, and it gets kind of crazy.
I would say if it was just soccer or just football.
You might think about it.
That might be.
And that was, yeah, and you can do it more subtly too, but than that was, but,
And with the trend of baseball being artificial turf, they do the alternating the baseball outfield just to give that look.
Yeah,
freshly mowed.
and there's no lines, and, yeah.
yeah, so, just an
You
option.
do a herringbone?
They probably could.
Yeah, put the logo in the green outfield.
I'm trying to think of Brown University just did alternating lines.
We got Brown?
Brown? Did they just do alternating lines? Baseball field?
I don't think they did alternating.
They didn't.
No. You know what they do, though? They can groom it in a way that it looks like.
Brush it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the direction that they go. in.
Softball field came out nice too.
Yeah,
Just
Oh,
like
nice.
mowing.
yeah. Any advertisements on the turf?
We don't know.
That hasn't been determined if we can do that or not.
That's policy.
Yeah.
decision.
That's a school committee.
Yeah.
I would say that,
Not now.
no, that we would not be interested in that because of the length of the commitment to the community to support that. I think that a lot of the things that the school committee heard was that, you know, we could control it, and if we wanted to get out of the business, it would be quite easy to do. So I think that, and I also think that you know, I know they have multiple tiers they're thinking about how they want to do it, and some of it would be more permanent than others, but I would just be very wary about
And
that.
we could also, I mean, if school committee were okay with it, we could paint.
Exactly, that'd be fine.
On the end lines.
Right.
You know, in the overlap area that we're looking at, you know, the red perimeter, we could have
Yeah.
4 or 6
Right,
logos
right.
painted into the outside.
Yeah, I think that's where we would go, and not worry about stitching anything.
So no.
No.
Okay. Get on my list here. So, as far as, oh, getting off track here. Okay. So this committee voted to go with an EPDM infill a little while back, I believe. So,
It's all right.
so with EPDM,
I like the other stuff better, but I'll go with it.
with EPDM, we have to talk about the turf system, monofilament, slip film, dual fiber, pile heights, shock pad underneath or not. So with all the other quote-unquote alternative infills, you need to have a shock pad below them with like EnviroFill or organic or any of those, because they have no resiliency in themselves, TPE as well. With EPDM, it's a lot more like, it acts more like chrome rubber in the fact that it has resiliency. And actually, some people think it feels even a little bit softer than chrome rubber, so you really don't need to have a shock pad underneath. So we could do a typical 2 1/4 or 2.5 inch pile height with EPDM and sand, with no pad below, which I think would feel, and we've not done any EPDM fields yet, so I've not been on one, to be honest with you. We've done everything else under the sun. But I believe that would feel probably a little bit soft. And if you're gonna be playing field hockey out here, that's gonna be one of the main sports in this field. You want that to play a little bit firmer. We might want to consider doing a shorter pile height, so less infill, with a pad below, because at that point you're losing
Taking up some of the shock
resiliency. So we could do like a 2-inch pile height with EPDM and sand with a shock pad underneath, and I think that would feel somewhat firm, but you'd get low Gmax results and low HIC results, all these things that are the testing criteria for impacts, for safety. Anyone have any?
Does the pad have any effect on life of the turf, or?
No, the pad will outlast the life of the carpet. The different tier pads as well, the different quality of pads.
Yeah, so we do have all the samples in here.
We brought them in at one point, I
We had a
think.
presentation from the turf doctor that came in here.
Andrew? Field turf?
Yeah, was it Andrew?
I've been talking to Andrew as well about just trying to get some more accurate numbers for the price for EPDM. You know, and he keeps going back to, you don't need a shock pad under it, which you don't. But we're also thinking more about shock pads these days too, just for long-term. You know, we've done a whole bunch of chrome rubber fields in the past, and as long as they're maintained, they maintain their resiliency in their shock attenuation. But over time, if they're not maintained as much as they should be, they start to get matted down a little bit. You know, on real cold days, they can feel a little bit harder, so they do lose some of that shock attenuation over time. So we're starting to think about shock pads underneath, especially with some of the other infills as well.
So we would have to use less fill if we use a shock pad?
You wouldn't have to, but I would recommend it, because at that point, your field would probably feel a little spongy.
So
Lower pile.
there's got to be an added cost for the shock pad, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's, my question is, using less fill, adding the shock pad, what would the net?
I think it'd probably wash out using less fill, because you'd be saving about a 1/2 inch of infill, and then you'd be adding the shock pad underneath. I think it would wash out.
Then you have less pile height for wear too. That would be my main concern is 2.5 inches versus the 2.
Yep.
Like if we have less pile height for where, like, and, I mean, obviously we need to hit some sort of sweet spot. It sounds like nothing's gonna be absolutely, perfect, but, where is that sweet spot? Because I feel like 2 inches seems a little low. I mean, what do most?
Traditionally for
Most
us,
people
that's
put
been
in.
low, and one of the reasons has been that, your field will break down due to fiber loss.
Right.
Right.
That's the thing that happens first, right? Like the pile frays and then that.
That's basically
speeds
all
up
that
the
happens.
infill migration.
It's basically, the field will fail due to the fiber deterioration.
Yeah,
But it's typically due to the UV rays of the sun, really not due to playing on it.
right, sure.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it's outside. It's
Right.
gonna wear.
So more recently, we've done some projects where we've done turf replacement, so we've harvested all the infill and taken the turf out and put new turf in, put the infill back. And what we found is that when you take the turf infill out, that top ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch is all frayed and deteriorated, and the bottom part of it is in almost perfect condition. So, our theory now is that even if you go to a 2-inch pile height, you're gonna have 1.5 inches of infill in there, you're gonna have a ½ inch reveal. It's a ½ inch reveal that really is gonna have a lot of wear on it. And that 1.5 inches below is going to stand up because it's not subject to the UV, it's not subject to, playing on top of it. Systems like the EnviroFill system, which I think was considered at one point,
The coated sand.
Yeah.
it's a coated sand. The maximum that they will allow is 1 3/4 inches. Most of their systems are 1.5 inches to 1 3/4 inches. The one we did in Newburyport was 1 3/4 inches with EnviroFill with a pad below, and it plays nice. So we haven't found it to be an issue going to a 2-inch or 1 3/4 inches, as long as the system is right.
The EnviroFill is still the least expensive?
No, not necessarily. I believe that the organic cork and coconut products are the least expensive of all the options. The EnviroFill is kind of in the middle somewhere. I think the EPDM is going to be a little more expensive than something like an EnviroFill. A little less expensive probably than a TPE. We're still carrying a number of $300,000, which is I think a good number for a 2-inch EPDM field with a pad below it.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
It may come in.
We're still in line?
It's still in line. You
But
could
if we
do.
did like 2.5, it would be over.
I think if you did a 2.5, well, if you did a 2.5 without a pad, it would probably be still around that same 300,000, 250
Pad,
to,
but you got more fill.
probably 250 to 300. Either way, you roll the dice there.
But
We're carrying that 300 to.
the 2 inches with the pad, it's playing firmer than if it was higher, which
Right.
is a factor for field hockey particularly, but also for lacrosse.
Correct.
To
Because
a
the
lesser
pad
degree,
is-
but nonetheless.
The pad is firm. In Wellesley, we did a pad with TPE on it, and we were walking on it, I'm like, man, it feels hard, it feels firm. But when we did the GMAX results, we were getting results like 85, which is, with chrome rubber and sand fields, we were getting them in like 110 to 120. So it felt harder, but it was coming in quite a bit softer, which is great, which is the best of both worlds.
Thoughts?
I mean, I think that, the fact that it's going to become the field hockey facility for practice and games, why would we not go with a firmer surface to allow it to play the most closely the way they want it to play, if we're not giving up anything else by doing it? I just don't understand why would we consider anything else?
Right.
Got that?
Sound logic.
Yeah.
And if it's not a safety issue for, football players hitting the dirt or hitting the turf or lacrosse or any of that.
By having that pad.
You know, or,
By having the pad.
or, you know, additional wear by being a
Right.
shorter pile height. And if that's, if we're hearing that that's not an issue relative to like a 2.5 inch.
Yeah. Seems logical.
You know, I mean, you know, what are most communities doing as far as like, you know, pile height? What do you see the most of? I mean,
It really depends on the infill system in the main sports being played out there.
Who plays longer? Which sports are playing longer? Higher height? Football
Again,
primarily?
Well, again, the main factor is the infill.
Okay.
190 of our fields out of the 200 we've done have been a 2.5 inch pile height with sand and chrome rubber in it.
That's more soccer and football.
I mean, yeah, it's mainly soccer and football, but well, no, I shouldn't even say that. I mean, the lacrosse field, they're all out there. Lacrosse, field hockey, they all use it. But the last 10 or so we've done haven't necessarily had a chrome rubber infill. We've done a couple now with organic. We've done a couple now with EnviroFill. We've done a couple with TPE. I want to say that's it at this point. And they're all different systems based on what the infill is and what kind of pads under there.
I would say that we go with,
I like the pad with the,
so yeah, the shorter pile
yeah, shorter pile with the pad.
with a pad. And as far as slip versus,
Yeah, we may have talked about the fiber types at one point.
mono versus,
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, there's the monofilament that is basically just extruded on its own, sticks up a little bit more. There's which is here. Oh wow, it's actually a really good image. Maggie put this whole thing together, by the way. They're all just single strands extruded on themselves that
sewn into the back.
they're all sewn into the backing. And then there's the slit film, which you can see it's more of a wide film, and then they kind of slice it, so that's why they call it slit film. It's a little bit more durable over time. It lays down a little bit more. It's a little bit more like shiny, in my opinion. It lays down, so it holds the infill in a little bit better. And what a lot of people are doing nowadays is the best of both worlds. So dual fiber, so it's a mix, roughly 50-50 of the monofilament, which looks more like grass, and then the slit film, which is a little more durable and lays down, holds the infill in a little bit better. I believe that every field we've done in the past 2 or 3 years has been the dual fiber.
Cost-wise,
Cost-wise, they're the same.
all right.
So
Anybody see any reason not to go to dual fiber?
No.
What's the last one, that thatch layer?
that's something that AstroTurf was pushing heavily a couple of years ago. It's and other companies have it as well. And depending on what kind of infill you do, it may or may not be beneficial. See this almost like Brillo pad looking layer at the bottom here. They call it a thatch. It's kind of a coarse kind of interweavy layer at the bottom that is only the bottom portion that supposedly holds the infill in more than typical, so you don't get the spray up as much. I don't know that I buy that necessarily. And we actually had EnviroFill, some people from EnviroFill in a couple days ago, and they actually have done testing and measurement on how much different infills fly up, and they found that this doesn't really do a whole lot.
What's the downside of the slip film?
The downside of the slip film is it doesn't look like real grass. It doesn't really stick up. It lays down. And it can actually get a little bit slippery if it's wet because it doesn't stick up. You're not playing on the infill as much. You're playing more on the grass that's laid down over it.
Can you scroll up just so we can see which sports play best on?
Well, this one's good for all of them.
Right.
Football we put under this category because this is a little more durable. But as far as actually playing on it, they play on monofilament as well. We put soccer there on its own because the ball sits up on it a little bit more.
I think they do a fiber.
Consensus there? Dual fiber though?
Is there a significant difference in migration of the infill with the slip film versus dual fiber? I'm all about trying to keep that infill where it belongs.
No,
No.
no, typically not. Okay. What else do we have here?
So what, dual fiber and the height's gonna be what?
2-inch pile height. There's a couple of different, like I said before, level of shock pad. This one here, the white one, interlocking ones, this is a Brock Power Base YSR pad. It's kind of top of the line. This is what we ended up doing in Wellesley. It's a extruded polyethylene product, if I remember correctly. It looks like styrofoam, but it's absolutely not styrofoam. They interlock together. It's a little bit thicker. It's got a little bit more firmness to it.
Stands up well.
It stands up great. This is the,
Recycle.
yeah, this is all recycled material. This is Schmitz, or this is the...
Schmitz pads?
I think,
I just want to get it, so
Power
a guy
Base.
like saying Schmitz pads. Have you seen our Schmitz pads?
No, but I have a Schmitz Light.
This is another Brock product here. This is a...
Shock pad, okay.
This is just another way of extruding the... this is polystyrene as well, I think. This is the cheaper option. This is the cheapest Brock option here. It's not quite as... It doesn't have quite the thickness to it. It's not quite as firm, but it's a really good product. This is what they did in Triton, I want to say. They put this down.
How does this lock together? Or does it not? Just because it butts up against each other?
I believe they're all the same interlocking system like this here.
How much more is that one?
This is about $1.50 a square foot, and this is about $1 a square foot. So you save about $40,000, depending on which one you use.
And what are most towns using? All different.
There really, at this point in time, there really is no most town, because this is somewhat new technology. I mean, there haven't been a lot of pads installed in this area. And, there's been a lot in the last couple of years, probably, because of the alternative infill. These shock pad guys are jumping for joy because of the alternative infill issues.
What are the two middle ones cost? Schmitz pads and the other one?
These are the same. This is somewhere in the middle. This is probably somewhere in the $1.25 range.
What are they made of?
Schmitz.
This is a polyethylene. This is recycled.
Yeah, it looks like that.
Well, this is like some.
No, it's still foamy.
Yeah, it's more foamy. I don't.
It's fancy for...
There's some. I think there's some recycled like sneakers in there. There's a lot of sneaker product in there, I think.
But we don't know.
I'd almost recommend, because we have to go through the budget, we've got some things to cut out probably. I might want to recommend using this because it's a good product.
Good opportunity to savings.
It's a good opportunity to save some money.
Can we call it Schmitz though? Schmitz Brock pads?
Schmitz, yeah, this is, well, can't do that.
I feel a little Schmitz on you.
That's Schmutz.
Oh, sorry.
It's different than Schmitz.
Let me also talk to, well, I don't want to push you in either way, but I want to talk to the guys at Brock probably about the system, about using EPDM with a 2-inch pile height and what the results for each of these pads would be.
Testing anytime they want.
Well, they've done a lot of testing on all sorts of different
You don't work with
systems.
me, John. You got a really good deal for them.
Yeah.
we'll put this in for them.
We'll allow you to put it in.
Right.
So
We wanna
let me
decide.
get a little more research on the pad, on that system with that pad.
Yeah, I think we would appreciate a solid analysis of the cost versus the benefit.
Yeah.
And see what the differential is, and if it's,
Durability.
that'll help us determine if it's really worth it to go up or not.
Likelihood of replacement.
Maybe my biggest concern would be durability, those polystyrene beads, or,
The rock pads?
well, just
Not
polystyrene beads in general, don't tend to be super durable in any other application I've encountered them in, which has been quite a bit. So I would be interested as well.
I can get some more
A little more
information on that. I know that
information.
they guarantee, I shouldn't quote that. They have a cradle philosophy with their products, all of their products. At the end of the turf, basically project, because they say that these pads, whether it's the white one or the other one that looks more like pellets here, will last basically for the life of the site, the facility. No, it'll last multiple turf replacements. And at the end of 100 years from now, well, not 100 years, but 30, 40 years from now, you don't want to have a turf field there anymore. They want these pads back, and they're going to recycle them, and they don't want them in a landfill somewhere. But I can get some more information on that as well.
Imagine what the Schmidt's backyard looks like.
What else did we have?
Fill the Schmidt's beds.
Backstop options.
So there's nothing, so as far as pellets penetrating through, there was a backing, was that on the actual fiber? The slit
There's a-
versus?
Every single turf product that you get has a backing. It's a material backing. It's actually made out of polyethylene. It's like a textile. And they weave the carpet fibers through it,
Right.
and then they seal it all with a polyurethane. Every
Right.
single turf product you
But
get.
some of them, there's some benefits to different types of backings, though, aren't there?
You had to do with drainage,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I had
The
to
holes in the-
drainage and how much migration you get through them.
They're all guaranteed for at least 16 inches an hour of infiltration, and that's what our spec is, which is twice what a 100-year storm event is. Field Turf has the finger drain system on the back of theirs, on their Field Turf Revolution. It's the only product that they have that. That's their proprietary drainage system. Instead of punching holes in it, they only seal with the urethane backing. They leave strips, basically,
Yeah.
in the permeable backing. They state that that is a superior drainage system. It may
So
be,
we don't have
but
to
it's-
select that.
No, and
So
that's actually a
present
pretty
your-
hard thing to,
The benefits of the different types of backings.
and that's a pretty hard thing to specify in the public bid form as well, because no one else can meet that.
Okay. All right, sorry, backstops.
Just showing some options for backstops here. This was an example of the one we talked about before without the overhang.
Yeah, looks good. Done.
Perfect. I won't even show you the overhang then. All right. These are some wind screening options on fencings, and these are some nice,
That's nice.
branding opportunities. It's basically chain link fence with a windscreen on it.
So we spec some by the playground.
Yes.
Block the grandstands
I
a
like it.
little. But we haven't put any designs, it's just gonna be black, but you can put these on any chain link fence.
Was it here? We had an 8-foot fence along here, and then I think it,
Is black the best way to go as far as the school is concerned?
well, it's a black fence,
Understood.
and then the windscreen could be, I think
But
we
it's
want a
gonna block the
windscreen
sun.
here to,
Is a
Probably block the
windscreen
sun
one
on
of
those kids.
One of those items we don't want the markup on, though? Is that something easy enough for the AD to get, or?
Is the windscreen something that the owner can take care of? Or should be included in the?
You,
Put it way down the all-dad list, or?
you could include that yourself.
We get them for the backstop at the high school
Mhm.
softball, baseball field,
Mhm.
so that you don't have fans standing behind them.
Mm-hmm,
So the AD has a source.
sure. That's fine.
Anything we do through contracting is gonna have the markup on it.
Sure.
That's
Right.
really what I'm thinking about.
Mike, is that a advertised sponsor option? The
I think it
outfield?
is, that's the other
Yeah.
thing. you know,
Outfield
yeah.
is softball field.
Yeah, for sure.
Although I feel like if it's that big, someone
Well, yeah,
contributing a lot of money.
right, that's the question. Like typically what you would think about is you would think about hanging signs onto your fence
Yeah.
and whether or not you go with the windscreen or not. But and you're right, Julie's point, if I could windscreen, 10 different vendors, then I
Right,
would
field
do it.
center,
But if I can
field,
only
outfield.
windscreen one, then I'm probably not gonna wanna do
Yeah.
it because it doesn't present as much opportunity.
Less active.
Unless you go for a big ticket item, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I think that, again, we should just leave
good
it
to
off
trickle
so that
down
we
the
can.
fundraising committee.
Yeah, we should leave it off so that we can retain flexibility and we'll make our decisions later about what
Oh, yeah,
what suits us
yeah,
best.
leave it off.
A nice place to put it too is, and it's pretty simple, is just around the back end of these
Yeah.
concessions. That gives the players a little bit of privacy, and then it also kind of makes it look more of like a
dugout.
Quite
like a
close.
dugout.
Yeah.
And you could put that tiger paw right on there as well.
Yeah. I like that.
That's something that we could include, or you guys could do on your own as well.
Yeah. That's fine.
Include or?
You guys can.
No, I think we should do it all.
No, we'll do it.
Yeah, I don't think we should.
I think it's opportunity for both fundraising, but it's also an opportunity for our donor groups that the softball team might want to fundraise to do something that they like. So we just let them do it.
Also classes with their
Exactly.
gifts
Yeah.
for their class of 2020.
Was that it for the presentation? That was all. Those were some stock ticket booth
Yeah.
things we had, but. Oh, this was something here, for the entranceway, where we had the columns specified right now.
This is the proposed.
Again, basically the idea is that we're trying to, with those 5 columns here, give this some sort of, space, architectural space of kind of presence, almost like making it into somewhat of a, an enclosure, not enclosure, but to find this entranceway here, to separate it from everything else, give it some vertical interest as well. So we were thinking of something like this brick pier,
Yeah.
which, cost $7,000 to $10,000 per.
What if, can you go back to the last picture,
The
which was the field, I think?
plan.
Yeah. All right, so fences. Is there a fence on the perimeter here?
No, so the fence is. It comes along the outfield here. So this fence is gone, right? That comes along here now.
Okay.
So that's gone. So it's really, it comes around here, and it comes around the outfield, and then your fence is
Across the-
here and across here, and then it comes back.
Okay.
There's a gate right here.
So this is
back
open
over.
area then, okay.
This is all open. We're gonna have
So you're trying to
landscaping
define
here.
that a little bit. I'd almost rather look at like the aluminum wrought iron or something like that versus the piers. You trying to do those piers to tie into the brick of the building and that
Well,
kind of
donor
thing?
opportunity.
Yeah.
right?
And it is a donor opportunity, but I mean, at $10,000 a pier,
We were thinking of uplighting them on the parking lot side, and then having sconce lighting essentially on the inside to light the plaza area. I think it'd be really nice, but again, it's one of those things where it's a cost-saving opportunity. We thought about doing more with like a decorative just bollard there, or a decorative bollard with a light on top.
granite posts with like the horse, Littleton's a farm town, right?
We thought about doing that, just a granite, you
Well,
could even do a
horse.
12 by 12 inch by 12 inch
Horse by horse?
granite. Even if you did it like 5 feet tall or 6 feet tall, just to give it some height, or 4 feet tall. Because those are, one of the hard things about these is the labor.
Yeah.
They have a whole foundation, it's CMU, it's brick veneer, it's, precast caps and bases, they're beautiful, and we do them on projects. But again, it's
10 grand a pop.
and this might be a good alternate as well. This might be, if we want to, it seems like everyone's a little bit hesitant of specifying this right off the bat. Maybe we do something a little more simple and alternate, or we just say that this isn't for us and we don't even think about this ever again.
I think we need to do something at the entrance. I think it would be a shame to spend the money
Go back
to
to
do
that,
what
yeah.
we're doing and not do something.
Make it somewhat grand.
Yeah, I mean,
something
even,
that would kind of
you know,
be a
even if it's a
first
plan
impression.
down the road,
Yeah.
like, it needs to be a concrete plan down the road, in my opinion, not like, oh, just what if somebody does something.
Have you
right?
done that type of thing anywhere else where we could see like an actual picture of it? Not, and I don't mean on the spot now, but maybe you could send us
So
something.
the fencing stops there where the gate's gonna access
So
the
the fencing goes
vehicle,
around the field,
but it's gonna stop
goes
there.
up here,
No, it comes all around here too.
No, I know, but it doesn't go,
Stops
it
here.
doesn't go this way.
it goes this way, and then the alley.
Like along the road, like it does now?
Yeah.
You got
It
fencing.
doesn't go along the road, the corner.
No, your fence is here.
Yeah, so Michael, there's no fencing here.
Where's my polyline?
The outfield fence is that's,
And that's all grass, this is all grass? Grass and landscape over here?
Yeah.
If we don't
Yeah.
put some sort of bollard there, people are gonna drive inevitably or pull up on something.
Yeah, let me go to the landscapes. We do have a landscape plan too.
yeah, that's again, those are opportunities for us, and we're not crazy about putting a whole lot of leaves near the field.
Yeah, the only landscaping in the whole project is right here.
Yeah.
And we're calling out some sod and then kind of an edge with some plantings in here. And we had a whole grand thing that our landscape architect came up with in his grand vision, and we cut that down by about 80%, I think.
So I almost think that, so Michael, Mike Rory, you're talking about maintaining a fence line?
I thought we were to establish the entrance.
Well, this is, this is your control point here. Because you're gonna come in here, you're gonna gather, you're gonna talk to your friends, you're gonna meet up
I
with
was
people.
envisioning like an archway.
So, yeah, so there's like a
That's
wrought
more-
iron something with
Yes.
alumni on it,
Yeah.
and maybe two pillars with that on it.
Like with like a lot of lights and it just screamed like, oh.
You're entering this great facility.
Yeah, well, that was kind of our idea of uplighting these pillars here as well, uplighting them and downlighting them, but I don't know, maybe we get rid of that and do something more like, the tricky thing too is, right, because you're accessing it, you're gonna park it in the middle school, you're gonna walk down here, you're gonna walk through here, and you could walk kind of through here, you could park over here and walk, so you're kind of accessing it from every way. So it's not like, unless you funnel people to this point here, which you could do,
That was my impression, is that we were doing that.
we can.
Yeah, because what stops someone from like walking across the
That's what I was
grass
just thinking.
and just cutting under the.
Well, they can't get past the gate.
You need to get your ticket here and then go through the gate.
Plus, we'll have a detail working that area anyways.
We could fence that off and,
But what's
guess
stopping
that's
people
the
though, what we're saying is what's really stopping people from saying,
yeah.
I'm
is
just
the
gonna
issue of
cut right
fencing it
through
off.
here, who cares? if
Well, yeah,
there's-
everybody's gonna walk across here, and there's gonna be,
Right.
Yeah.
a path is going to be created on the sod,
Yeah,
because people are gonna cut right across
cut
there.
across, that's what they're gonna
And
do.
overflow parking.
Well, this is
too.
all
That's
plantings
my
here. This
concern,
is,
people pulling
this
up on
is
the
some
curb.
hedges and some, you'd have to walk through some trees.
Keep in mind, if you put another fence, you have double fence and it's kind of a no man's land.
Yeah.
No one ever walks in, that
And
kind
that
of feels
little-
like an area
Yeah,
that.
no, I see
You know,
that.
It's really, you have to walk, you have to really be motivated to walk through this planting area here to,
Vertical granite curve too.
this is all curving here.
Yeah, so they could have a hard time pulling.
Pull up on it.
So from a
You are
parking
to a
standpoint-
pedestrians walking, you are more, because the crosswalk's here. It's a pretty short walk to come, just to come right through here. You're not saving a whole lot of time by,
I agree with you.
And I would-
However,
yeah.
people will go to any
Reality is, yeah.
campus, whether it's a college campus or any school
We
campus.
could put an edge there too.
Or just the
What about a
timber.
berm?
Like a landscape berm?
Yeah.
Yeah, or something that's like gonna really mess up your car if you try to pull up.
I like that idea, Michael. And then
Are you able to
with
put a
landscape
driving
above it.
space up here? What's the
Overflow
concern?
parking,
I'll
I'm
tell you,
thinking
I-
like town meeting, people were parked like all along that side of the
Do lands-
field.
Not worried about that.
A landscape park from down here, people can actually watch the
What about the
softball games. from-
That's what I would do. I would,
We could put a,
I'd raise that,
Timber
like-
guardrail there.
all the extra dirt you get in there, I would make a
Visually,
nice
that doesn't
Right.
seem like.
little
Yeah.
grandstand there for
You don't walk across.
softball.
Elevate that and
That would
just,
be
just
fun.
A lawn.
We could put granite,
Already got
granite
the-
posts with the
Yeah.
black chain.
Yeah,
Granite posts with the chain, then we could do some more like maybe beefier granite posts out here instead of these columns. To keep people out of here, you know what I mean?
I'm not worried about people driving, I'm more, I was thinking more like, I wanna funnel people to the walkway,
yeah.
that's all.
I think,
You know what I'm saying?
I think people are funneled to the walk because they have to get to this area to get into this facility. Here's a ticket booth, you have to, you know what I mean? This is the area. I don't know that you need a point.
Yeah, no,
This is, you know what I mean?
Probably
This is
right.
the point.
I do
But
like-
if you want to have like
But
a
for, like-
sign that you walk underneath, you do need some sort of point, right?
I do kind of like Mike's idea of doing a natural berm though, where it's, you know, it's somewhat elevated with, we're gonna have a lot of material
a lot.
potentially coming out of here, right? So that's all elevated beyond
yeah.
the ball field.
It'd be nice
Yeah, you could sit there and watch.
People could sit there and watch the games
if you built a retaining wall on the, saying,
on the
on the-
outside.
No, on the concrete side. Here, on the inside of that, you raise that entire area to be higher than the fence, outfield fence.
Yeah.
Yep, you raise all that. to
This
be-
is all elevated.
Yeah.
And you have to have another wall here.
Where?
Or you just slope it down.
Yeah, you'd slope it down, you know what I'm saying? But up against this entrance area would be almost like a sitting,
That would create a
Wall.
visual interest that we definitely
That's a
don't
lot
have
of
there
money.
now.
that's a lot of money. That wall's expensive.
The wall would be expensive. I don't know that. But I do think coming in with a berm with whatever the natural grade would be, and just kind of
You could just literally roll it up.
Yeah.
Couple tiers would be pretty neat.
Sal,
You're saying have this
when you
whole
bury
thing
your
raised
head
up?
and whisper to John.
Well, we got a microphone, so.
Yeah, that doesn't project to us.
So the idea is to have just kind of a berm along this edge, raised up with the whole thing raised up.
You guys have any thoughts? Michael and I, the other one's kind of
We probably have
like,
columns.
you like the idea, right?
I mean, I like the idea.
Actually, you're
Although
probably
not the
right.
way-
Yeah.
The amount of, the amount that
How's the
columns
berm
it costs you.
in your
I mean,
mind?
we could
Across the
bring
wall.
we could bring a wall
And it would
through.
Where's the berm
Because
situated
that
in your
would
mind?
really filter people.
From the first sod
Yep.
all the way down towards where the trees are.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
just
like-
build
Yeah.
the grade to the back of
Yeah.
the seawall.
That's what I was
Like we
thinking
did
too.
it on the
Huge,
trailers.
is,
You could bring a wall in kind of like that. Don't mind that little end piece
Make
there.
it a looser edge.
Yeah, maybe you could make it,
I might be wrong on my species name. but Huge is a.
and then this is, and then that is raised up. I mean, you'd
You
have to.
could still berm up from that wall too, and then down again.
And
just
then
to
have
get-
people,
And then people can climb up and.
even bring it in, you can even bring it in here a little bit more to kind of formalize this area, if you wanted to funnel people to here.
Oh, this is all berm? This is
This
elevated?
is all, yeah, this is all wall here.
Eliminate the columns.
Chairperson? Two questions. I think it would be great to have seating right there, that berm, that natural seating. My question is, how backed up does that ticket booth get? And is that enough space if you put that berm there?
It's a lot more space than we have now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a,
Yeah, I like your curve
Thank you
shape.
for letting me
Yeah, it's a good question though.
If
Yeah,
that is a
yeah.
wall, then it's almost could be
yeah.
another naming up. You could have just another, that wall could be something for donors along that whole wall.
Trying
Instead of
to
the
give
pier,
kids-
right?
Kids waiting for a ride after a game.
Something
puts a
like
place
that,
for them to
maybe?
sit.
I mean, I'm using straight lines,
Yeah,
so
I
it's a
know.
lot.
I mean, literally just like the brick that you're gonna put on the bottom of the concession, that could just be a
brick veneer.
18-inch brick veneer
We've done those
with a cap,
before, yeah.
with a concrete cap.
We'll do a 24-inch wall with a cap on the top so you can sit on it.
Yeah.
Do a
If
nice
you're
wall.
waiting, yeah, waiting for friends to arrive.
Do what?
Do a nice wall. Don't do a brick veneer.
Do a real brick.
You
I think it should be
gotta do a
brick.
natural, you gotta do stone wall.
Well,
Or you could do a Versalock, or like, you know, no, the type that look like rock now.
Right, look like rock.
But I wouldn't do a brick,
The
that's,
pros from Dover, figure it out.
What did Wellesley do?
Hold on, I got a picture.
they had the pillars.
we can decide this.
Actually, they did a big. You want pictures of the total wall?
That would be, I think that would be a nice
And I would
visual.
I'd get it as high as you can get it, and then just slope it,
Different too.
Yeah,
slope it
definitely
down.
would be different. It's,
I mean, unless
it
someone
adds
thinks
some
you're gonna take
topography
away
to
from
the site that
The vision of the
was never
field.
there.
Unless you wanna see like unless you wanna see the football field when you come around the corner, and that's gonna take away from the vision of the football field.
Flag up there at that point? 'Cause right now, we've got a flag here.
You put it in this. in
I'd
the-
stick
Flag up here.
right in the middle,
Point.
right at the point.
Right in here?
Right in there.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
And then you plant around that.
What would you put in there?
Flagpole.
Oh, yeah,
Flagpole?
yeah, yeah. Oh, that would be nice.
And that kind of brings it away from the
That's not a
scoreboard
flag, is
too.
it?
Yeah.
Flagpole?
What?
Gigantic flag, like.
Where's the
Awesome.
scoreboard?
Logistically accessible.
Yeah, just to put the flag up and down.
Yeah,
Okay.
but not handicap
I
accessible.
wonder what height.
Like the one at Market Basket in Westford.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's
One
so
of
huge.
We can do
The
it.
Market Basket one in Westford. Market Basket.
Stop traffic on 495.
It's over there. That way people have to go through.
We could send, you could put the ticket booth,
The work in the office is.
well, I guess keeping it,
Where it is.
Keeping
cut
it
back.
further back.
Because then it gives you more of a forecourt in front of it for gathering.
we could shift it down a little bit because we've got our sewer line coming through here and we're really snaking in it between our,
Yeah.
That's fine.
our scoreboard foundation and that.
Oh,
So that-
where you run the sewer from there? You run it right down the concrete pad?
I will show you.
Because if you're doing that, you probably don't want to do the wall.
No, we can run the sewer's
No,
pretty
he's
deep.
okay, he's right here.
It'll be.
The sewer's deep enough.
No, I understand, but let's just say, for some reason, there's a
We have to
break
get in there?
right under the wall.
It's your fault.
Just saying, not that,
Remember that time Mike Crory said?
Actually, our wall's coming right along there.
yeah. See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We could move that though, because we're putting that in. Because we
Yeah, this is
won't
all
be
new
doing
sewer
the
line.
roads anymore.
it shouldn't be an issue.
You have no
I'm
foundations for
not
the
gonna say
pillars.
it's not gonna be an issue,
But the pillars aren't there, so
but it shouldn't be an issue.
listen to Maggie.
Pillars are
Yeah, it's
So
a
we
new
can
sewer line,
maybe bring it
it's
closer to
pretty
there.
deep.
So yeah, the flagpole foundation and the pillar foundations are not gonna be there, right?
Right.
But you will have to put a flagpole foundation
So
right
you're
where that
saying
sewer line
bring
is.
But no, the sewer line can no shift
Guys,
over now
let them
because
go fix it. Guys, let them go fix it. Let's go. It's 10 o'clock, come on.
Seriously.
They'll figure it out. They're the pros from Dover. They don't need our help. The pros from Dover.
All right, we'll figure, so we like the wall better than the columns. That's what I'm getting here.
yes.
Okay,
Apparently you guys are gonna figure this out?
we'll figure it out. What else?
We're gonna be trapped in the office all day.
Yeah.
Can you specify?
No, you don't have to go to work tomorrow. Not essential.
Where's
Right?
Maggie's
Yeah.
essential?
Really?
We're all, yeah, we go to work.
Will you guys put native plantings in? Native
Do you
planting?
do native plants, like especially the rain garden? I mean, I'm sure Concom probably already requested
Yes,
it,
definitely.
That's all Concom stuff though.
Definitely in the rain garden.
but, I know, but it's just nice. I'm thinking
Yes.
of it from an aesthetic
Yeah.
standpoint too.
What else is essential here?
I'm on the wrong page.
Yeah. All right.
There's a couple old people on that.
Do you have any lighting issues?
What?
There's a couple old people on that committee. When you finish up here, you
With
can
the,
slide over.
Old
I mean, with the lighting, yeah.
Yeah, field lighting and all.
Heavy.
All different dates.
What else we got?
Oh.
Cost estimate. Pass that out, right? We'll try to wrap up pretty soon.
John, are there any lighting issues?
find lighting issues for me. Well, I mean, I will repeat what we've said before with keeping all the existing lighting where it is typically you want, if it's a new facility, you do 50-foot candles, average over the field. What we're gonna end up having is something more like 25, which is playable, it's just not, it's not ideal. And I think I sent it to Chuck, I think I copied you, Carl, maybe a few weeks ago, some information that we got from Musco on the different types of fields and their classification of lighting and the, all right, so let's step through the cost estimate here, and we did update it. We've shown this before, obviously. We did update it and refine it. We're currently at the same, I think the last time we met, we were at a subtotal of 3.59 million, something in that ballpark. We're at 3.6 right now, so we're, I mean, I'd call it almost exactly where we were before. We put more realistic, not realistic, but we were using a per parking stall cost for parking before as an estimate, and we actually went and did gravel base and pavement and this and that and the other thing, and we were right on top of where our estimate was before, which was a pleasant surprise. We're still waiting for the geotech results. Actually, we did a bunch of borings out there about 2 weeks ago, and depending on what they found below the pavement, there isn't still an opportunity that we could save some money here. Our cost estimate, I think, is still assuming new gravel base below the pavement. But what we did do, though, and we were made aware of this when we met with PMBC the last time we met a few weeks back, was that the total project budget, from what I understand, is not to exceed 4 million. And if I understand correctly, the cost for design services for the schematic phase, which we did before town meeting, was included in some other budget number. And the cost for the whatever was left in that fund was rolled into this not to exceed 4 million. And therefore the engineering fees, our fee, sales fee, the MEP, structural, all these things are included in that not to exceed 4 million. I believe that's a correct statement.
Correct.
Okay. So in that case, what we did, we added in that fee to this cost estimate. So we have a subtotal construction, we have the engineering fee, which is all the way through construction, for a total of 3.9, call it, million, a little over that. And we have your budget in here of 4 million with the remainder of contingency at $85,000, which is about 2.3%. Before, we had been carrying a 10% contingency for construction, which is ideally where you'd want to be.
Right.
So given that, I think that what we want to do is find another $200,000, if we can, of cost savings in here somewhere. So what we did was we went through and we highlighted everything in yellow that we thought could be a potential cost savings or an alternate. And while we were sitting here before, I highlighted turf striping and midfield logo as well, which I don't think were highlighted on your sheets that we gave you. So let's go down the line here. I don't think we need to go through every single line item, but let's go through the yellow ones. And if anyone has any other ideas of cost savings, we can do that as well. But the first one was the strip and haul topsoil, and we're assuming that all of this is the standard strip and haul off site. And it's a contractor's responsibility, which is another about $64,000 under item 4. I know we asked the question previously, what's going to happen with the topsoil? And I don't know that we came to a definitive conclusion. Some of it's going to be used at Jet Field to rebuild that, but there's going to be a 5,000 cubic yards surplus probably on the project that needs to go somewhere, and if that can stay in town, it can go to the DPW or highway department facility somewhere and have them manage it. That can be a cost savings.
Okay, so it would be hauled by the contractor, but we would, it would be.
Yeah,
hauled
usually-
To a Littleton facility where we would store
Yeah,
it.
if there was a Littleton
manage it.
facility, that it could be hauled, and ideally it would just be hauled and not screened, because screening obviously is another process that costs money. They can screen it, and that's still cheaper than what we're carrying here, I believe.
Okay.
So that number would probably get cut in half. It was just strip and haul. So let me start adding up these things.
Should you have a copy? So the 64 is unscreened or screened?
That's unscreened because it's not really their cost to screen it. If it's their responsibility, they're just stripping it, they're hauling it off, and you never need to see it again. Typically what they'll do is they'll try to sell it to a local landscape supplier or something like that, or if they're local, they'll bring it back to their own yard. But that's basically the number to strip it and truck it somewhere, that $12 a yard.
So how do we cut that in half?
So if we
By
could,
dropping it somewhere in Littleton.
yeah, it cuts out their trucking costs.
So
So,
we need to find out where we can store it.
and maybe you can store some of it, half of it. It's a large amount.
5,000 cubic yards.
Mm-hmm. That's a good amount.
Matthew Drive. Matthew Drive.
Yeah.
Another item is under item number, like I said, item number 8, the striping and logos, which you guys will get back to us on. The logo is probably a good alternate.
So it's 15 grand to put the tiger bottom though. That's stitched in.
Yeah. Somewhere in that neighborhood. Yep. Athletic field equipment, non-fixed, lacrosse goals, field hockey goals, if those could be purchased separately. We're gonna include football goals, because those are fixed,
Specialized.
essentially. Team benches, we're still carrying in there. But again, those could be something that could be purchased separately. Number 18, we were carrying a drainage layer under the softball field. That's kind of belt and suspenders. There's actually decent soils out there. Typically, the way that it's built is you'll strip it all off. You'll have your natural grade below, and you'll import a gravel bar layer, which is like a coarse sand, essentially, layer, and then you'll put down your loam on top of that. And the gravel bar acts as like a wicking system. It wicks the moisture out of it, and we also have drainage underneath that. But if you have fairly decent soils on top of the
Redundant.
the gravel bar can be a little bit redundant. So that's something in there. We need to look at that a little bit closer. If we're comfortable doing that or not. The last thing we want to do is take that out and have drainage issues. But it was something that I just wanted to kind of point out that we're looking at. Bases for the softball field, again, it's, carrying $1,500 in there for that. Under item 25, site improvements, that's the entranceway columns, we had some stamped concrete in there. If we're doing that wall, that's probably that number's probably gonna stay around where it is, I would think.
So we don't want that then, do we?
Well, let's maybe get through it and then come back to it. Item 26, we were carrying an item in there for lights on the existing path from the middle school to the elementary school. That's really kind of outside of the scope of this project. It's nice that we could put them in, probably, but if that's something that, the the school or the town could do as a separate project, that's probably a possibility. The ticket booth, you just do that as an alternate. Plantings, you do that as an alternate. Yeah. Let's see here.
We're gonna be on a 14-foot swing gate. Is that just a sliding gate?
That's at the softball field because it's curved along the outfield fence. It's emergency access, so we can't do a
So
slide.
it's 2 sevens.
So it's just two that open.
What is it?
Yep,
Right here.
2 7-foot, yep.
That would call it 16
Oh.
foot, but either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of a slide gate, they were doing that.
Is the plantings, it looks like in the rain garden, you don't have any plants for the rain garden? So is that something that can only half go away? I'm just curious.
Those are under item 34.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Rain garden without plants is pointless. Wash away.
So add these up right.
Did you do any analytical for the soils, or did you just do geotech? When you
Just-
did- When you did your borings?
Just geotech. Yep. We do actually need to take some samples of the topsoil and send them out to a lab, so we can have the contractors know what they need, how they need to amend that.
So are we tallying that? What did we come up with? 30.
Probably could have done this in Excel.
$80,000?
Huh?
80 grand?
I got 100.
I get more than that.
Yeah.
Good.
I got 106,
30.
and that's not taking anything.
100 what?
No, let me do an Excel. 'Cause I'm-
Oh, and that's not 106? I'm not taking away anything from the entrance.
So that's, say, 30,000, if we can find that there.
I got 130, huh?
If we can, we've got that's 50,000, 15,000. One minute. Let me just do this and do this.
Should we just say
I do 30,000 for the topsoil plus. If I do this plus this plus this plus this.
Carl, are you factoring in the columns at the entrance and the stamped concrete?
I didn't take anything away from that.
No, okay.
I've got about 250. That's with the
Columns at the entrance. and
column of the
stamped concrete.
entrance and
So
chip
if we're
concrete.
building that berm and a wall,
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's if you took out everything, right, 250. So if we add that back in, let me just say. This. You're back up to about 9.5%, which is pretty good. I'm not saying that we want to take all this stuff out right now, but maybe if you guys are in agreement that these are things that we can play with as alternates,
yeah.
maybe we do leave some of these things out of the base bid. I mean, the topsoil thing we need an answer on. The equipment, lacrosse goals, et cetera, things like that, those are easy. The gravel borrow drains, we need to look at that a little bit further. I don't know if I'm gonna take that out or not. Maybe we can come up with some cheaper option for the wall, the entranceway there, maybe there's some modular system that we can use. Plantings, they're great, but maybe those can be an alternate as well. So let us go back, if these items are kind of okay to kind of play with as alternates, and you guys don't have any other things that popping out at you, we'll do that, we'll restructure this and.
Yeah, so if anybody comes up with anything, if you want to follow back to me and John, and we'll go back to John with it. You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. Charlie, okay? All right,
Okay.
we're on our way.
One other thing, and this should be pretty quick, I hope. PA system.
Yeah.
Traditionally, when we have this sort of setup, well, let me ask you this question. Do you want a PA system for, the PA system we're envisioning just for the rectangular field, not also for
Correct.
jet field? Okay. When we have a system like this, what I would probably recommend is mounting the speakers on the press box. It's either mount them on the press box or mount them on the light poles. However, in this case, they're older light poles. I don't know what the structural capacity of them
Press
is.
box is fine.
Yeah, that's what we do now.
Mount them on the press box.
One at each end.
Yeah, typically one on each end. Are there any special requirements? Should we give you basically a standard PA system that we've used at other sites similar to this? A good
budget.
system?
Yes.
Do you have a desire to have wireless capabilities to use the, like a headset or microphone on the field?
That would be great, but what kind of cost are we adding? I mean, it'd be great to do now because we're doing it now.
You're adding probably $1,000 to $1,500.
That's included. I mean, for any kind of presentation, not that we do a whole lot of presentations, but senior night. I think the amount of use we're going to potentially get out of the field, I think it's worth including, at least for a remote microphone.
And then filming platform on top of the press box? Yes?
Yes.
What, yeah, like, what does that entail? Like, right now, we stand on the
film our
roof
own.
and we film football.
Yeah.
Can we do that? Is
We
that
need a
different than a
filming-
filming platform?
You need a filming platform to do that.
Yes.
So that's a modular
We need
piece
to be
that
able-
slaps
yeah,
onto
we
the
want-
top of the
It's
roof.
basically, it's
Railings and a
yeah.
hatch with a ladder.
Railing with a hatch.
Yeah,
Power
we
up
don't
there.
want them in the press box, it's gonna be too
Okay.
crowded, we want them under, and they think that they like to be higher.
Yeah,
Yeah, yes.
easy answers. That was it.
But we just added money back in.
No, that was included.
I think that's included.
I had a estimate.
Oh, so you're looking at backing that out, okay.
What did they have?
Or making it more robust than what they had, like the water gate system with light poles, they didn't have that in there, they had.
The number that we got from
The press box.
Yeah.
The design shows railings on it, didn't
I
it?
thought it did, yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
I know, we looked at photos that had.
And then, at one point, there was the desire to have security cameras, I think pointing at the amenities building. Someone had mentioned that along the
I
lines.
think it's, I'd have to look, but I think I have it, I think I'm hitting it right now.
You hitting it from the middle?
Well, I can. Can.
But they're not, well, not gonna
Yeah.
discuss our
Yeah.
security system right now, but, all right. So we might be able to manage that
Yeah.
with our existing cameras on the two schools that are on either side of the
Or
building.
just adding a camera to the school.
Okay.
It would be nice to be able to include some sort of security system, but it's not something that.
Elementary and
But the thing is that Mike's right, if we can do it from the existing buildings and tie it, it's easier to tie it into the whole system.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we don't have to worry about.
New backbone, new controller.
Yeah.
So I would say, short of us coming back saying it's impossible to do, we need to do something, help us out, we'll take care of it.
Where's your system located now? Is it,
We have one at the middle school and one at the Russell Street School.
all right.
And
I mean, the only thing we could do is we'd route conduit back to the school, and we have to figure out where in the school that
They're
is.
saying they can.
But I'm saying we don't have to do that,
Oh,
because we
yeah,
already,
we could watch it from the school.
They're saying they can mount the cameras on the school.
We can mount the
They
cameras
aim
on
them
the
at
school and.
Facility.
Right.
We've got them there now.
Yeah.
All right, so
It
we don't
just
need
matter.
security.
Yeah, I wouldn't-
Making sure the angles
The
and
coverage,
coverage.
yeah.
Exactly. Don't worry about it for the moment. Mike will check on it. He's our guy anyway on that, so.
What about, someone at one point mentioned having one of those blue light,
Emergency calls.
one of those, something like that.
I think with the inception of those, the Holy Cross has gotten away from those college campuses that I'm visiting. They don't do those anymore because everybody's got a cell phone.
Put a payphone next to it.
A cigarette machine.
You know what it is?
That's
It's an emergency call box.
Colleges.
That's funny.
Yeah.
You press the button and the light goes off and it calls the police, I think. It was mentioned at one point, so, no? Okay.
Just have-
Huh?
Didn't Pittsburgh State just have some incident where it was used or something?
Is the PA PA system something that would make sense to, you
Take
know?
outside of it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, because I thought Mike Lynn had mentioned, that he had picked some, I mean, I know the PA system we have is ancient, but I just thought I remembered that was something that we had bought on our own, so is that difficult and how much, I mean, obviously maybe mounting is a concern. It's just, again, it's just a thought, like,
That's
we
not a
don't
bad
need to
thought.
be paying a markup on,
I would think though, if we're building a press box, we'd want everything wired while it's being built, no?
They're pretty modular, I think.
Are they?
It's, the system that we have right now is pretty much in a couple of suitcases. It's like,
Yeah, it's
I
really
think an
not,
electrician needed
there's
to
no
do
like
it.
jacks like built into the wall, really. It's more you get like an amplifier that's mounted in there, you get a mixer that you plug stuff into, and then all you really need is, you need the conduit for power from the building to the press box, so you could actually run it. Which we
We're
can
gonna
do.
have that. You're gonna have power. Power's gotta be up there. That's a given.
Well, we'll have power,
Yeah.
no matter what. We'll
Right.
power
and
and.
there's a breaker, there's a separate breaker underneath the bleachers right now that is literally for just the press box and the scoreboard. So there's a separate breaker that's
We'd
running
run-
out of the,
We'd run power up there for the PA system
yeah,
either way.
well, you need lights in the press box and
Exactly. Heat, they have a little space heater in there. We just run conduit up there because you want to run
Plugs for
data up there. at some
computers and
point.
other things.
Do we need to think about running data and communications to the press box? And if we do, we need to tie into one of the schools.
I would say no.
Yeah, I don't,
I
you mean like Ethernet, like to plug your Ethernet cable in or something like that?
Yeah.
No, no.
Conduit
are you
would
Put that
trying-
next to the payphone. No, we'll go wireless, and if we gotta put a
You
router.
don't need anything in the ticket booth either, other than power.
Exactly.
Okay. You're not trying to live stream
No.
filming from
No,
the top
no,
of the
no,
press
no.
box or anything like that?
You don't think Millie will want to hook our laptop up?
No. But, I mean, we haven't really answered Julie's point. I think we should check with Mike and just see what his expectations are.
No, I wrote it down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm.
Just check with Mike and JD and see.
What are you
his
carrying for that, John?
Be nice.
For the TA system?
15,000?
17?
17?
Okay.
17.
12 and 5, yeah. Data connection, is that, were you thinking we were gonna run some
Yeah.
DSL?
We were thinking that it was gonna be, oftentimes they'll want data for filming and things like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if everybody's accessing the wireless.
Well, I'll just hack into Mike's, his hotspot.
Sure. Okay.
So we get some questions to ask of EAD and DPW to find out if we can store some topsoil, and so there's some things that I need to get back to you guys, right?
Yes.
So you got some answers relative to the blank panel and colors. I think we're pretty good. We'll have that one meeting just to tighten it up and make sure that,
Should we meet again, can we meet again wonder if we could try to double up with
Maybe. Conscom.
EBC or Concom or Planning Board or something.
If it's literally just going over some design elements, colors, things like that, I don't think we'll need 3 hours.
Yeah.
Good, because you ain't getting it.
Grumpy swear after 10 o'clock.
You know, the 16th.
And we could also put together like a finish board and get it to you ahead of time.
Yeah.
And we would just have you guys react to it.
Yeah, I mean, if it was, it's certainly easier for you guys to double down, right? So
Yeah.
if you're meeting with the conscom
Why
at
don't you-
7:30,
Facilitate that with Chuck, and we'll make ourselves available.
If we do the 16th, because that's we have Planning Board that night.
that's Thursday night.
Yep.
It's a pretty busy night, but
That'll be tough for me.
I'm out of state. I guess it was good for you too, so you're probably more crucial to that than colors and whatnot.
you around Thursday night?
This Thursday?
Mhm.
Tomorrow?
Well, I'm gonna be at the planning board meeting.
That's tomorrow? That's next week, right?
Next week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
next
next
Thursday.
Thursday.
Well, we could do the 20,
Depends on if we have our meeting tomorrow night.
27th. is conscom.
right?
27th.
Everything closed, right, Mike?
I think so.
Everything, yeah.
27th is fine.
No school.
20 If it works for you, maybe you could go, I have a meeting in Boston from like 3 to 5, and then I have Concom at 7, so I probably won't have a window, but if you talk about colors and whatnot, then you guys can handle that.
I mean, unless you think that we could just do a finish board and get it to the group and just through email
And have you pick it.
approve,
Yeah, so
give
we
you
don't have
some
to
color
have them,
palette
we'll just get
options.
ourselves together and do it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Instead of meeting to do it, I mean,
Yeah.
we could even send you a board with the real color swatches on it, with some color palettes for paints and things with color samples, and you guys could
yeah,
just.
so I think we can't deliberate over email, but we could have.
We can get ourselves
have our own
together.
meeting.
Right,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
respond in
Yes.
email as to we prefer
Yeah,
option.
Yeah, if you
We
could
can't get a meeting if it's just for colors.
Yeah.
And then we'll just
And-
pick our date
right.
after we get all that.
Fast, can you
We'll
get a
make it
color
work.
board together?
Yeah.
All right, that sounds good.
So what we'll do is we'll take the elevation and we'll just put a couple of color palettes together with paint samples and point to which one is which, and you can kind of, we like A, B, or C, or a combination of them.
Yeah, and I would say as far as the interior colors, just neutral.
Okay.
Do we need to be involved in that?
And it's just a basic tile, we're picking just a basic porcelain tile, it's an off-white, that's a relatively inexpensive tile.
Yep.
So larger format rather than the small little tiles, so there's less grout.
No shiplap?
Nice. All right. Should we keep talking?
If you have more stuff, but we only have a few minutes of tape left.
You keep talking, we'll approve minutes.
Yeah.
No, I
All
think we're
right,
good.
getting caught up in the minutes.
Sure. Motion to approve August 24th?
Who's it?
Second.
Motion to...
Hold on.
Come on.
Who seconded it?
Are you gathering your thoughts for a minute?
No, we're good.
All right, we're gonna burn through a few of these. All right, so we have a motion to approve the minutes from August 24th. It's been seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? If you have any discussion, you have any debate, please
Who seconded
signify.
it? You?
Mike Font.
It's gonna be Mike and Mike, so
Yeah.
let's go.
Make a
All right,
motion
good.
to accept meeting minutes from September 14th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
No. Yes.
Make a motion to accept October 11th meeting minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, is there any discussion on 10:18, 10:26, 11:1, or 11:9? No. I'll take a motion to approve all of them as a lot. So moved,
Second.
seconded.
Okay. All right,
There you go.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
there's one
I
more
think
we
the-
didn't approve.
I think I need to add an attachment to the October 18 minutes. I was supposed to email you my
Yes,
notes
you were,
and I
I
never
saw
did,
that.
so that's on me. So the October 18, all right, great.
It's approved as amended,
As approved with attachment,
with the attachment. from
with
Joe.
attachment.
You guys okay with that?
Yep.
We never approved also the minutes. that
Second.
Gail did, September 29th. Okay,
September 29th, it's been
September
moved.
29th.
Seconded.
approved, Done. Okay.
All in favor?
Opposed?
Opposed?
Guys, stay with it.
10, 29, Gail. Maggie, thank you for doing those.
Welcome.
Who's doing
Oh, I
tonight's
wasn't
minutes?
here for that
Us.
one.
Good to
All
see
right,
you guys again.
you guys are good?
Mike, motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Seconded.
Ah, come on.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks, folks. Thanks, Julie.